When you called, where the heck was I at?
I'm gonna have to ask on that one.
All right, we are going to call this meeting to order. Before we do, I want to bring to light that it's our attorney's birthday today. I think he's like 16 or 7. How old?
Something around.
Something like
at least
that.
my maturity level.
But I will tell the council in his request for tonight for birthday present, he did want a decent billable meeting. So let's not.
Oh,
I expect fireworks amongst the city council.
Yeah.
So,
well, you know, the longer we keep you here, the more we get to pay you.
so.
Birthday bonus.
Happy birthday to Chase. If you'll join us for the prayer and pledge, we'll call this meeting to order.
Please bow your heads and pray. Lord, thank you for giving us the opportunity tonight to conduct the business of our city. Be with us in our decisions and help us make the best decision for the people and for our employees of the city. Also be with our troops overseas as they are facing danger every day and night. And also be with our city employees as they go out and perform their duties for us and for our community. In your son's name, amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Counselor. Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and do a roll call.
Terry Lamar.
Here.
Troy Shropshire.
Here.
Lori Bradshaw.
Here.
Kenneth Brashears.
Here.
Tyler Brown.
Here.
Charles Trammell.
Here.
Chris Gontier.
Here.
Bruce Smith.
Here.
I don't tonight have any petitions from the audience. Item 3, consent agenda. Are there any items that we would like to pull? I'm going to pull item S.
You said S,
S.
letter G.
Okay.
You have to do A, don't we?
Yeah, you were going
Yeah.
to pull A.
F.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
said F.
Frank.
Right now we have A, F, as in Frank, G, as in Gontier, and S, as in someone else.
Shropshire.
Yeah, that'll work.
Shropshire, there you go. Sorry, Troy.
That's all right.
I missed you while you were in Alaska, so.
Well, I didn't miss you quite as much.
I bet you didn't miss the heat.
All right. So, do I have a motion to approve B, C, D, E, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, T, U, and V?
Motion.
Second.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Lamar.
No.
Shropshire.
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Brashears.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Trammell.
Yes.
Gontier.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Item A, approved minutes of the August 6, 2024 council meeting.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion from Choya, second from Brashear. Any discussion? If none, call for the vote.
Shropshire.
Abstain.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Brashears.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Trammell.
Yes.
Gontier.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Lamar.
Yes.
Item F, approved mayor to sign a contract with Born and Rock for the use of fire equipment for Rocklahoma and Born and Raised. The new contract will reflect an increased rate from $4,000 for Rocklahoma and $2,666 for Born and Raised to $8,500 for the combined contract. A motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion from Brown, second from Gontier.
Mr. Mayor, I guess my questions on this are we really recouping all of the expenses that we are sending out there? And probably going to require talking to both of them about
Yes.
the city services that we're dedicating both inside and outside. Granted, I realize that Born in Rock probably doesn't want to pay for services inside the city, but the fact is that their presence and their concert is requiring extra services inside the city. So maybe curious from the police chief and the fire chief what all we're going to have to dedicate during those times.
Yeah, so while they're coming up, come on up, guys. At least look like you like each other.
I don't like them.
Never gone fish. No, so, in conversations with Born in Rock, and I've actually got Houston who wrote he is working for that agency in that capacity. We've talked about how we needed more coverage financially for what we provide. I'm gonna let BK, Chief Young, talk about what exactly that 8,000 is gonna provide. Because if you'll also touch on what we requested and where that's at right now with you.
Yeah, and so what from way back when, since it's outside city limits, the city has provided the equipment to go out there, and that's what this contract is paying for, the equipment to go out there. And then they always paid the personnel separate, just because they wanted to pay a set rate. Well, with us being a combination department, it tied into, if we had paid people out there, volunteers or whatever from our department to be out there, you can't just say, hey, we'll pay them $16 an hour, and that covers. So before my time, or the admin before my time set it up to, hey, we'll pay, or you all pay us for the equipment out there to set out there for the duration of the event, and then you all pay our people just straight across the board for them coming out there. If you want to pay $16 an hour or whatever it may be. We've looked at, since the mayor and even Houston, we've talked about doing an MOU, because there is some things that affect a little bit different. This contract is just the trucks that go out there, which for 4 days, them sitting out there, it's pretty fair for having an engine and like what we would call a squad or a response vehicle too. The guys that go out there and work, they're covered under something else that gets paid something else, so it doesn't come through the city to where if we have a captain sitting out there and the festival wants to pay $16 a flat fee or $25 or whatever it is, a captain costs different to the city as what a firefighter or anything like that. And is it, how many hours are they working, and at what point do we do that, and what goes into pension? So that's why we've always cut the equipment that you all supply out there, and the venue has been allowed to just pay for the firefighters that are there on scene for, or on site, a set standard fee. Now, if something sparks off out there and we get toned out and we go, we take it as it's our venue, it's a call, and we take everything over and we start running it like a normal call. So even if it was something major, the way our ordinance reads, I could bill probably for the personnel to try to offset some of that stuff, but we've never ran into that problem before.
Could we set it up to where the employees were also handling? I get, part of my issue is that when we send employees out there, they are now working as a subcontractor for Born in Rock, but they are using city equipment. If they get hurt, I'm sure Born in Rock has some kind of workers' comp thing, but I also imagine that they're gonna say, well, you're using city equipment, and at the end of the deal, we're gonna be, have
Yeah.
some level of liability or
At
exposure.
the end of the day, the world we live in nowadays, the fire trucks have Pryor fire on them. So if anything goes south out there, yeah, I mean, it's our equipment. So if our equipment's involved, and even if it's our guys, yeah, we'll always, I feel like when they work our guys out there, the workers' comp that's out there is just to protect those guys if they twist, break an ankle, do something like that, just milling around. But as to, I think where you're going is, if there's a big incident, something goes south or whatever, Yes.
They're back on the clock as city employees essentially,
Yeah.
because they would be anyway.
If there's a fire with a fatality or something like that, and I'm not trying to go off in the weeds, but they're gonna come to the city and say, hey, when was your hose tested? Hey, when were your pumps tested? Hey, where's your training? Where's this? Like, at the end of the day, that is our equipment, that is our manpower, even though they're getting paid by.
And so I have some history with them. I worked for them. I was the very first employee they ever hired out there for Lyle and Dave and some of those other guys. And so I've been there since I tore the fence down on the property. How those contracts typically work whenever they're hiring security or anybody else is that the manager of that is going to take a percentage of every employee that's out there. And I would just assume that percentage come back to us and us handle the employees that go out there. And I don't know that that's doable in the contract, but I would at least like to be on record of saying, I would like us to explore that, because if,
That takes a really big toll on us as far as pension goes. It's a really big issue with the fire.
And I think there is something which, and we had this discussion the other day, we met with the mayor in Houston, which, and I'm gonna foul this up, but I think he's their emergency coordinator, is that saying it right?
Yeah, so I'm the risk manager for Pryor Music Festival.
I think there is something that we could eventually look at doing, like an MOU or something like that. This company that's coming in now is a little different, so I don't know if that's something we could look at as a city to say, hey, we supply this equipment and this manpower to where we could build in, because the pension does change, or how we pay people or whatever, to where the city's not at a loss. If we send people out there, the equipment and the personnel we send on the fire side is covered.
yeah.
I can't speak for what you all tie up or how that interacts.
And that's the bigger picture for me, is we don't get anything for Jeremy's services in town, even though it has a direct impact to what the services they're providing for the weekend. And I would understand Born and Rock's position of, we're out in the county, that's who we're gonna talk to. But it doesn't mean that the city's not taking some kind of toll. So even if there's some little bit of monetary gain that we could get by handling employees or anything else, it might offset some of the costs that the PD's out.
So I'll check, and then you can go from there, okay?
Yeah.
So we did, and just for the, we did talk, and Houston knows as their risk manager person, that that's coming. We talked about, these contracts are gonna have to be redone. One of the things that we brought up in that discussion is that our setup versus the other venues that this, DWP has, Danny Weimer Productions, is that most of their other venues are inside the city limits of where they're at. So we're an anomaly, but also we've made it clear that there will need to be some better negotiating next year. I think Houston, you'll say loud and clear that that's what we came to you with.
Oh, absolutely. We walked away with, obviously they came late in the game. We needed to get some stuff in place to get these concerts under our belt this year, but they are willing.
They is not us.
No, they, meaning DWP, is willing to negotiate this year. I will tell you that on the pricing, it did go up, and I think that most people expected that to be more, but you also got to look at a company that's coming in and buying 2 festivals that's never put those festivals on. So everybody's wanting an increase because they're DWP, not Pryor Creek Music Festival. Yeah. So there's a level of how much you can really pick up there. I will tell you on the workman's comp side and the payment for the off-duty police officers, which doesn't include his officers unless they're off-duty and they want to go out there and work, is under a separate contract and is under a separate insurance policy, which includes liability and workman's comp. So those employees would be covered on all of that. Now, on your question, having the equipment setting out there, in my opinion, it'd be no different if the equipment was setting here and they got the call, they still got to go out there.
I agree.
But the equipment is already setting there. They have manned personnel there, which would be able to put out an emergency rather quickly than to have you travel out here. So either way, if there's something happens, you're going to still get involved and called in to that as well.
No doubt. I'm sure that it helps their insurance, though, for us to have equipment setting on site versus having equipment in town, though.
Absolutely. Any venue. I'll tell you, we just got the security contracts and just got the security insurance like yesterday. Most venues, most insurance carriers are looking at these venues and going, wow, this is a risk. It's a huge risk. You take Las Vegas, you take Houston, you've got 70,000 people out there. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So every carrier is looking for every single security possible, everything that can be supplied on site that would remedy any type of, or mitigate any type of risk associated with it. So that's what they're looking for.
Okay.
And so, and I will tell you that DWP, for the security, the off-duty, there's 35 off-duty police officers, and the firemen, the off-duty firemen will be under that same policy. Their payroll will be through J8 Security, and DWP paid $45,000 for that insurance policy. Because Gary and that group couldn't afford that, but they need them, and they paid the $45,000. They wired the money today to do that.
And on our side, I mean, we're gonna eat a lot of time, but like I was talking to Zach and Courtney, we're gonna use OSO money, we got the grant money left over. So everybody that's working overtime will be on that grant. So it's a good way to burn up the rest of the money, it's not eating the overtime for the city, so it's a win-win on our end, and all we gotta do is make contacts, which is what we're gonna be doing anyway, so.
When you're speaking overtime, you talking about for patrols in the city?
On our overtime shifts that we're bringing out, so we'll have 4 or 5 extra officers during those venues.
You're gonna explain what that OSHA is?
It's the Highway Safety Office grant, so officers, I don't know, we got like probably 7 or 8 grand left in that.
Yeah, and
So-
this is, September's the last month to use it, we gotta burn it up
So
before.
we gotta burn it before October.
And
when
so
it's-
how, I want a little more clarification on how that's gonna be used.
You just stop, I mean, you gotta make 2 contacts per hour, so the officers working the grant shift are working traffic anyway.
So that's just people passing through the town, and it's
Correct.
gonna be,
You're out just making contacts. Don't require tickets, but you gotta write at least a warning on it.
That won't be hard.
No, it'll be easy to do. That's what they're doing anyway, so.
Pull up,
it'll be
you've got
plenty of
5
warnings.
already.
So that, our side will be covered because of that, because we had leftover money from this year, so it's actually gonna work out well for us.
And I think maybe where you're going to, or and if I'm wrong, but like you take, I don't think there's any hotel rooms during that time that aren't filled.
No, everything's
So
booked right now.
they're completely filled. So you look at how many beds now, we've added people coming in. So during that time, if it's a medical emergency or a, you know, anything like, it is a draw on our community and our resources at that point. And that's where I think if we move forward with like an MOU or something down the road, just to say, you're not inside city limits, but you're right outside, but there is a big draw on our local response, not only with fire, but also law enforcement and everybody else.
Yeah.
If that's.
That's, yep, you're
You get
you're
the, I
correct.
mean, Walmart was wanting an officer 24 hours a day, and we're like, that's not possible, so.
I will tell you, sales are up on both of those concerts. There's gonna be more people than there were last year.
Are the, fire, is the fire equipment the only equipment that's city-owned that's gonna be staged there?
The guys will have their bunker gear.
But I mean, there's
With
no
it.
other.
No, we'll stage what we call a tanker, what they're calling a tanker, which is engine 11. It'll be out there. It's a 1,000-gallon truck. It can be used as an engine and a tanker. And there will be a quick response, which is a brush truck to get through. Emergency management lets us use their side-by-sides, which are, we've got a cot in the back of one. We've also got a small water supply to where they can get in and out of stuff that Johnny's been really good at letting us borrow during that event. But we don't have a lot staged out there, but if it is a fire or something like that, we'll get toned out and we'll actually respond from the other stations as well. But when it comes to firefighting, the quicker you can be there and the quicker you can start doing stuff, the better off we are.
So we're not having any law enforcement units out there staged?
No, I don't think any of our guys are even working it, they're all here.
There'll be the Mays County Sheriff's will be on site, and then 35 off-duty police officers that have been vetted through the process. And those officers do not have resting authority unless they're deputized by the Mays County Sheriff's Department. So they're there basically to watch the campgrounds and make sure nothing's happening out there. They won't even be inside the venue where the music's taking.
And those are from various agencies.
Those are from various agencies that are through Gary Hitchcock. Gary Hitchcock was out of Langley, or was it Langley?
Mhm.
And so he formed a company, got a security license, got it bonded, and this will be his 3rd year out there. And he recruits those officers. And then Mays County Sheriff's Department vets those officers to make sure that we've got, because the last thing we want to do is go out and have a bunch of fights. Everyone out there is trained to just defuse the situation. Unless you want to go to jail and beg to go to jail, that's the only time you're going to go to jail.
Thank you.
I just hope to see us capitalize a little bit more on some of the expenses that we send out there. And it's a lot.
Yeah, we're seeing the growth, and not only there, but when when you got, how many people are they talking on one night?
There've been anywhere from 30 to 40,000 people.
So I mean, we're dang near 5 times in what our population is in that one little area, which trickles to us and it also trickles around that area to where there are some things, but hopefully we can move forward, like what we talked about with stuff to start saying, hey, this affects us not only here at this location or this venue, but it also affects us in town and our surrounding stuff.
I'm good now.
You guys got anything else to add?
And anything you all are
About
willing.
Rock.
And just because the PD joins in on this, that it still means it all goes to fire, any money that
We're here to help.
we. Whatever.
I will also tell you guys that I just sat on an hour-long meeting today where we went through our emergency response plan, and it's a very good plan. So just think of it as a city within a city out there. We are set up and ready to go, and the training, the run, hide, fight, I mean, we've done everything out there. Because, like I said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when in the world that we live in today, so.
And these contracts have been to Chase, so he has reviewed them. I see contracts as one, we combined the two into one, and it's now Born and Rock.
Yeah, Born and Rock.
Well, for clarification, this contract is only for equipment, not personnel.
Right, the personnel are as essentially subcontractors through the facility.
Yeah.
That's
Festival.
what after the fact, we'll have to either sit down or meet
Right.
with people and go into, well, just present what we put in when that event's going for those 2 weekends.
All right, anything further? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Call for vote.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Item G, approve an expenditure in the amount of $12,000 to Flock Group Incorporated for the annual renewal of the 4 Flock cameras to be paid from Police Equipment Capital Outlay 44-445-5424.
Motion.
A motion from Choya,
Second.
second from Brown. Discussion?
I have a question.
Yep.
I'm all for the flock cameras. But if I remember correctly, we talked about getting these a year ago at the beginning of the new budget year. But we didn't really get them until several months later. So doesn't this year contract come up later and not now?
No, the time it was done, said and done, it was September is when it's due, and that's when we actually approved it or whatever. So I know the conversation went, but I don't remember how. Remember, we got the camera in, and then it sat here forever because we had to do an ordinance.
So we were paying for them even though they were just sitting here.
Correct.
Well, that was anyway, that's another story.
Yeah, we started in September is when the bill started. And I talked to him about that, but that's when it was.
Yeah. Okay, and these are gonna come out of your capital outlay account?
Correct.
Do we expect any kind of reimbursement later on from any?
No, I mean, the capital's good on our end, and Cherokee Nation's working some other avenues to help us out on the range, so.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Further? Call for the vote.
Rushiers,
No.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
No.
Gantier,
No.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Thank you.
Item S. Terry, if you don't mind taking item S, I'm gonna step out for that one. Again, just to check that I'm not involved in that, unless Chase, you're okay with.
I'll step out just for appearance purposes.
Thank you. Terry.
Item S is to approve the hotel motel grant application from Oklahoma Freedom Flight for Extravaslamza 3, which was held on July 27th, 2024, in the amount of $5,000.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by, who made it down there, Gantier? And second by Councilman Shropshire. Do we have any discussion or questions about that? I will say that this did bring in a lot of money, from what I've been told, to the economy. And we did it again it's the same thing that was done last year. So it has been a big draw for the past few years. And this time it was actually more in the proper city limits other than at the fairgrounds. And so anyway.
Do we have a number of how much they actually bring in?
As far as my sales tax reporting, I can't break it down to certain days. And I can't publicly release information on anything about like what they report for any private entity specifically, so.
I'm not wanting to know the entity, I'm just wanting to know the final dollar amount. And not just for this
Well,
one, but
it'd
for any of the
be pretty
events.
clear that I'd be giving you their final dollar amount if I told you right this second, so.
What's that?
Never mind. I don't have that number with me right here.
Is it possible to get it? And not just for this event, but just for any event that uses the hotel motel. It'd be nice to see how much we're giving them versus how much they actually bring in.
I assume that we could request that from those entities. That'd probably be the easiest way to obtain that information.
I wonder if we have an attendance to that event. Do you know that?
I don't have any part in it.
Can we request that information from the guy in the hall?
Person who knows that probably just stepped out.
Can I go ask him and bring that information
You guys
back?
can bring him in. Yeah, I don't think he actually has to leave. We just do that.
I'll ask him.
Well, thank you, Counselor.
No, not yet. Near or above 1,000 attendees.
How many two-befores or so?
Is there any other discussion?
It is my understanding on the hotel motel stuff that it's for community engagement events to try to bring people to town, and that we can't use it for any other purpose outside of the designated things or those community events. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions or discussion about it? Okay, call for the vote.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers.
Yes.
Okay, motion
I
carries.
wasn't skipping over you without realizing it. I had to skip over
I
you.
know.
All right, let's go to our addendum. Item 1, discussion and possible action regarding an expenditure in the amount of $4,000 to Grand Gateway for our annual membership dues and dues Grand Gateway account, or from dues Grand Gateway account 8855349. Motion?
Motion.
Motion from Brown,
Second.
second from Shropshire.
I do have a question. Why is this on the addendum and not out with the regular?
Because we got this, yesterday, was kind of presented to you.
Thursday, what is today? But yeah, it was yesterday, Monday.
So it was a last minute received thing.
When does it actually have to be approved by?
It's,
It's
I think we're,
technically,
it's due,
yeah.
it's due. I don't remember what the date is on it.
Because I'm just having a real problem with stuff popping up on the addendum that
So,
should have
The
been.
addendum, Chris, let me remind you, are things that we can still get on the council to take care of within the 24-hour period before the meeting.
And we put the agenda out on Thursdays now, so if things pop up between Thursday and Monday.
I think
we
this
have
last
the
one we
ability
got
to do
Friday
addendum.
midday, but
Right.
we had some things we were trying to work on. So sometimes those last minute things come up after that agenda is put out, and we don't want to delay that, or we want to make sure that you guys get that in a timely, respectful manner. So thus we have an addendum.
What does the city gain from membership in Grand Gateway?
So the main purpose of Grand Gateway is they are a economic development authority, kind of for the region. So basically like our EDTA is for us. And so there's access to SEDS grants, there's access to opportunities for us to seek out monies from them. In the past, I can promise you the attendance at those meetings was slim. And so, we've been kind of looking a lot at some of the things that they provide in terms of economic development opportunities to help us fund things. I know when you look at what they have now, one of the resources that they do provide in our community is also for like Sertoma, their van, some of those things, groups like that nonprofits. I know like Veneta, for example, they had that nursing home fire with the homes. And they were able to provide funding for Pelivan to go and help relocate some of those people, relocate what was salvageable. They are really a benefit to the community. I think properly used, throw that caveat in there, properly used, we have a lot to gain for it. It also allows entities like Sertoma to be a part of those things in our community. And on top of that, it's the board of directors is, I don't know how many people are on there, my gosh, it's probably 60 people. But the idea is that's your county commissioners, that's water districts, it's a good opportunity in those board meetings. And I find it really interesting to listen to what those other entities have going on, being a part of, collaboration. There's transportation authorities, there's elder care, there's all kinds of things that Grand Gateway provides for. So again, I think properly used and properly researched, they lay a lot of avenues for our community to do things that could help us out.
One of the things that they do is provide the Pelivan to
Yes.
Pryor, but we have to pay for that out of our budget. And it will probably be coming in the budget later on that we're gonna spend money for
The
that.
majority of what Pelivan does is funded through your Grand Gateway grants. And so,
And they get the grant money to pay for it from the cities that they serve, in addition to the
Yes.
$4,000 annual dues.
yeah.
So
Yes,
there's-
and they also seek out state and federal funding and, you know.
And speaking of that funding and grants, a little over a year ago, right before you took office, maybe within a couple months before you took office, we had to have a council meeting to go out for a grant that we're going to do. And the previous administration was going to have a special council meeting shortly before you took office to where we could do something about, we had to have a meeting to talk more about that grant and go over something. And it was supposed to have been something to have helped MUB on some sort of water project of some sort. And I've never heard a single word about that since then. So do we, in the past year, since you've been in office, what have we gotten from Grand Gateway as far as grants, and have we applied for any? Or are we just talking that they provide them, but we never have provided? Have we applied for any grants in your term?
We haven't applied for grants, but the conversations have been started with them in terms of what can they do to help us, especially lately. We just recently had a meeting with Ethan Bynum. Ethan Bynum is their SEDS director, the community stuff, on new grants that have come out, new opportunities that they have to just help find those things. Now that grant that you're talking about there, I don't know. Do you know anything about that?
Not currently.
I can follow up with Jared and see what that was. I'm sure he would recall. I don't mind doing that.
Was it actually through Grand Gateway? I thought that was through something else.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I remember there was a mix-up on the date and the time, and we ended up having to do something and change it because it was a mix-up. Is that the one that we're talking about, and they had to reschedule it because there's a clerical error?
Well, I don't recall a clerical error, but there was something that came up with about a grant from Grand Gateway. We had to pay something to help pay for the grant writer for it. And then we were gonna have to have a special council meeting to follow up, and it never happened.
Yeah, I'll look
So-
into that for you.
And I can do a little dig up approximately what dates that was.
Mayor, do you know if we've received any money from them in the last year of any kind?
Hang on a second.
Go ahead.
So we have not.
Grand Gateway doesn't give us grants, they give us the opportunity to qualify for other grants that we wouldn't have qualified without their membership.
So
We pay a grant, if we want to go through a grant through Grand Gateway, correct me if I'm wrong, we go through the process and we pay them to pay the grant writer
I think
to
probably
do all the
best way
paperwork
to
for us.
explain what they are is, instead of a grant writer, they're more grant coordinators. And that's one of the things that has, you know, talking to, I think, Mr. Burkeen was in this week, talked to him, I've talked to some of Mullen's office, and that seems to be the reoccurring theme. You know, and I'll be honest, I'm learning as we go, that grant writers are important. I think Adam and I have talked about this, Bridget and I have talked about this, Houston and I have talked about this, that one of the things we need to maybe look at that I've collected, even in the last month or two, is not necessarily looking for those grant writers, but looking for the grant coordinators. And those political authorities do have those grant coordinators. So that's kind of changed the direction. One of the things that we did talk about with Erin Crowler, with Grand Gateway, her and I had talked, as she actually had called me, was with trying to help one of the nonprofits, and I don't want to, you know, necessarily throw them under the bus, that's not the intent. One of the nonprofits that uses one of our buildings, not the Arts and Humanities Council, throw that out there, but to compensate for use of the building. You know, one of the things that Courtney and I have looked at this last year are the utility costs. And we've talked about that, you know, the utility costs, maintaining those buildings, the upkeep on those buildings. And with some of these, I don't want to say nonprofits, but these civic organizations, if you will, struggling, those are costs that they aren't prepared to pay. And so when I talked to Erin, she was going to, this was probably beginning of last week, so we'll give her the time that she needs to do that, was to look into a grant that would help that organization apply for, and in behalf of that organization, that would help provide us with the money to cover those expenses. That organization has to be willing to hand that grant over to us. And that's where Grand Gateway will work with that organization to say, okay, we're gonna try to get this grant for you, but it's your responsibility to hand that over to the city to cover what they're looking for. So that's one of the things I told her, yeah, let's start looking at that. Let's see if that's something that's possible. That will help them out as well as us. And so those are kind of the benefits that we're starting to see out of Grand Gateway as we work a little bit with them, as those relationships are built. Again, the attendance, I think some of you that were here before, Chris, you'll recall, attendance at Grand Gateway was not a priority for some people. And so, you know, I do everything I can to make every one of those. Sometimes 1 o'clock on a Thursday is a challenge, but it has been good to get in and learn how that process works. But I think, like I said, the best thing to when we're talking about Grand Gateway is a grant coordinator rather than a grant writer. So
Mayor, I guess we can expect then that if we go ahead and renew our membership, that we'll see some benefit out of this in the next year.
Man, I sure hope so.
We haven't before, right?
We have. When Jimmy Trammell was in office, there was a lot of work there.
Okay.
And I think for those of you that visit with him, he'll confirm that Grand Gateway is a valuable resource. But it will take learning how that process works, learning those relationships, those networks, and then, like I said, working with those things like Miss Cowler, I know I'm saying her name, Crowler, to see where those things will apply for Pryor, where they'll work. Her and I have talked and she's the director up there. Her and Mr., I think it's Dan Delosier is the one that runs that, working with them to kind of say, hey, out of these grants that you have for rural Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma areas, what does Pryor qualify? What can Pryor use that we actually need, that we can, you know, go for? So it's not an overnight process, but it is a benefit to the city if we use it correctly.
Yeah, well, that was gonna be part of my question is, well, first, how long have we been members?
Do you know?
I'd have to go back and look.
It's been decades, probably.
Okay. Well, and the annual membership being $4,000, I know that's a drop in the bucket for the amount of money that our total budgeting and whatnot is, and I know it's not coming out of our general fund, but are we receiving $4,000 back in benefit, basically?
I kind of feel like that was my answer, was
Yeah.
that if those things are used correctly and the relationships and the networking is done correctly and those things are sought out with that board, then yeah, there's a lot of potential there. I think you'll find that every community, including Big Cabin to Adair to Miami, Veneta, they'll all give you that same answer. And so it is a very important thing that we'd be a part of. Keeping in mind that usually when we write a grant, those costs can be anywhere from $2,000 to $4,000 just for the grant writer to write the grant. And for this price, we have the opportunity to have that coordination to say, hey, if you're looking for highway transportation dollars, here's a grant you can go after and we can try. Now there may be a fee like with any other grant. They may also be able to say, hey, let's write the fee of that grant into the grant. I'm not a grant writer, so that's how all of that works together. So.
Well, why don't you become one, start saving us some money?
Mayor, I'm gonna probably bring up something here. But to tie in, I think it's pertinent to this, since we're paying dues for this, that I know, and you know, everybody that's been on this council for at least a year knows, that it's gonna be coming up in the budget for us to pay lots more money to Grand Gateway to operate their Pelivan. And we budgeted X amount of dollars for that at the beginning of last year. And then in the fall, I believe it was in the fall, Grand Gateway came back to us and said, oh, we can't operate this Pelivan unless you all give us more money. And we said, okay, we're gonna give you more money. So my question is, how much right now is your draft for Grand Gateway's Pelivan portion of this?
So for Pelivan,
Yes.
that's what I'm gonna call it.
Yes.
Let me back up and address that conversation that came up with Kinder McGreedy from Pelivan.
Okay.
Troy, I don't know if you remember, were you on the council when I brought up Pelivan? And we had a little dispute about Pelivan and the services they provide versus, and it wasn't pretty. It was, it is what it is. Kinder and I go way back. We communicate often enough to keep me happy. I don't have anything ill to say there, but I sat in a meeting, it would have been fall of last year with her, and I don't recall if you were in that meeting. I thought it was in the conference room here, and the comment was, well, Pryor needs to pay more, Pryor needs to pay more, Pryor needs to pay more. And I said, well, how much do you think we're paying? And she said, well, you're only at 25,000. And I said, no, we're at 32. And she goes, well, it's still not enough. Mm-hmm. So part of what you get with that is that opinion of what we pay is never gonna be enough. I know that we've had conversations with Pelivan regarding and I don't really wanna get too far off into the weeds with Pelivan because, respect to the agenda, but what exactly does that cover for us? Mm-hmm. To find out that part of what that is that it does provide the rides, and we know who's benefiting from those. And I don't want to take that away from those people that really rely on that for life services. There are a lot of people who are life dependent on that service. But it was news to me to hear that what we pay for covers a mile or two outside of our city limits and gets tied up most of the day in the industrial park, dropping off. And so when we met with them, we talked with the industrial park, we talked with, I think people from Raycor were in that meeting, other businesses, and it was like, well, that doesn't work. What we're paying for is tied up outside of what we're paying for. Well, you need to pay more. We're not gonna pay more. You get what is ours back into ours, is what I told her. And so, we've talked about trying to find ways to accommodate the work transportation, versus the medical transportation, and a lot of that is, I don't know how to say it, it's not that it's not my job to coordinate that, but it's my job to make sure that we get our $32,000 worth and not have to pay what others aren't. Obviously, you know, the city of Tulsa, Tulsa County, Port of Catoosa, they're paying more than us. It is what it is. But that's where I'm at with that. That answer your question?
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, those have been conversations frequently had.
And that was about last fall when they came back and said, hey, we need more money, and if I remember correctly, we did give them more money.
Yeah, because we paid them the 32. We didn't give them more than the 32. They were under the impression that we were only paying 25. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Further discussion? None, call for the vote.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
No.
Smith,
No.
Lamar,
No.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
No.
Brown.
Yes.
It's a yes.
That's 4 yeses and 4 nos.
I'll be a yes on that. Item 2, discussion and possible action regarding a resolution between the city of Pryor Creek and Pryor Main Street for the fiscal year 24-25.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Bashir. Second?
Second.
Second from Choya. Bridget, would you come on up here for this one? I asked Bridget to come up and kind of explain the resolution, what that is.
While she's coming, when does this have to be decided on? When did we get this information?
This was a last part of the week, last week, was not, I think we were already in motion with the budget, or the agenda.
But when does it have to be approved?
It's on the agenda tonight.
You'll have to forgive me, I am still learning the process on that.
So,
For what it's worth, I don't think
think
we're
last
doing
year it was
anything other
actually
than
approved in
our
September.
commitment to,
Correct.
Chris,
Stay
have you read
invested.
the
No.
resolution? It's
Yeah.
just very generic. It doesn't
Yeah,
really.
I understand.
so what is, I guess, let me ask you this, Chris, what is it you're asking? Because apparently there's at odds with something to do with this resolution.
No, I'm not at odds with the resolution. I'm just trying to make sure that it was pertinent to be on an agenda, or if it could, addendum, or if it could have been earlier. I've been having a real problem with stuff springing up late.
I think
So that's my
Okay.
question.
I think
If it's
state law says
necessary,
it's
it's
24
necessary.
hours before we meet, though, right, for any
Yeah.
agenda?
Is a legal time frame for us to add items?
Technically, I could give you this entire thing on Monday instead of putting it out a week or a few days before and giving you a little bit extra to read on Monday by law.
Okay, so you want to tell us what the resolution is?
Sure. So part of my, I guess, vision for the upcoming year and working with the city, with the mayor, with the EDTA, with the chamber, and with MUB, with other entities, is really focusing on true economic development for the downtown district of Pryor. And that includes things and initiatives like the revitalization of the downtown district and, activating vacant storefronts and buildings. And also looking at blighted buildings and the renovation of those or the rehabilitation of those buildings. Also looking at having a inventory of all of the buildings downtown, having the specs on all those buildings. That way we can actually market those buildings appropriately to generate revenue as we look at businesses that want to come in to the district. And then also supporting the existing business owners in different aspects that they may need, as well as offering guidance and mentorship for businesses that might want to come in to the district. Some other areas that we want to look at is also particularly the optimization of business hours through data-driven numbers, so that we can, really drive up sales tax and revenue and be a thriving district that brings in the quality of life for our community and our residents. So that's my goal.
Right, and so the resolution again is just it's saying, hey, we are recognizing Main Street for what they do for the city. We fully recognize that you're a nonprofit, and that you are freestanding on that you're not a city entity, but we also recognize the valuable information that Main Street has built up and what you've got for us now, along with the partnerships, for example, with the chamber, the EDTA, Main Street, the city, and the things that we can do to work together to work on business retention, work with the building owners, the properties to help optimize, that was a good word, optimize those things that we as a city don't have time or resource to do. So this is just saying we recognize that relationship and shall work collaboratively to monitor progress and adjust strategies as needed.
Yeah, absolutely, and I am open to having conversations with anyone that would like to have conversations about these things, address concerns, address visions, goals, anything that you'd like to talk about. So, yeah, how we can work together, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, so seeing that a lot of the, businesses and buildings, they're owned by private individuals who have a right to do with their property what they will inside the bounds of the law.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest concerns I've heard, and I've even seen personally, is rent is just too stinking high.
I've heard that as well.
We can probably count how many businesses went by the, now it's that little medical urgent care that's in that building. It used to be Billy Sims, and it was a couple different Italian restaurants, and a lot of the complaints were, I can't make enough money to make this worth it. What would be your idea to how to work with the building owners as far as that?
So I'm not sure exactly which property you're talking about.
Well, just any of them.
Yeah.
Just any of them downtown.
Any of them?
Yeah, just any of them downtown in general.
So I'm gonna come up and help her with that one. So one thing that we need to point out is Main Street, by designation, can only operate in the downtown corridor. So
Right.
69 to Elliott and First Street to First Street. I believe the business you're talking about is out by Walmart, which is well outside of her,
Right.
Oh, that's
her
why I don't know
area.
where it's
That's
at.
why she doesn't.
Right, I was just using that as an example, just because,
Yeah.
just
But
because
we
I
do
know
have the
that,
same
but-
complaint for many businesses downtown, so.
Well, because there's a couple buildings out there, one by Salmonella's, there's, there was a garage, it was called Clinton's Tire. I mean, I know there's a lot of,
Yeah,
heat
and there's a
surrounding
lot of
that building.
interest in some of
but-
those buildings, right?
So part of that is the Bluegrass and Chili Festival.
Okay.
And having downtown events and getting some of that empirical data that we've talked about in the EDTA and using Bridget to be able to produce that data for our downtown business owners that say, hey, here's a business that's located in this block of Graham, and here's how many unique individuals pass that building every day or during these specific times, and your hours are this, but perhaps with this data, you could consider opening a different hour.
Like you're missing out on a huge chunk of revenue.
So, but part of that agreement there is just to reinforce the commitment.
Yeah.
And then Bridget and I plan to be back in a few weeks, once the EDTA renews the MOU. Then we'll come back for Fund 68 approval, and have some of those details. I just want to make sure we stay on that
Well, I think it's important to point
agenda
out,
item.
one of the things that we've seen Bridget work really hard on, and I'm gonna kind of give you an atta girl there. Adam brought up the Bluegrass Festival. When we first brought this to surface, there were a lot of the businesses were like, you're gonna take my parking. We've actually been able to, and I say we, it's been a collaborative effort. Bridget has really spearheaded this portion of it, is writing letters to the business owners, encouraging them to don't just, yes, exactly, just stay open, amend your hours for this. We're doing this event, we've said it 100 times, we're doing this event for them, to help promote them, to create that traffic for them, not to create a profit off of the event. And so she wrote 2 different letters I think you had?
Just one letter,
1 letter, 2 pages, right?
and it's actually co-authored.
Okay, well, atta girl, atta boy.
It's all Bridget.
Take that however you want. But the idea is, the letter was to encourage the businesses to stay open so that they might see better revenues, which in turn into what we need, to participate, to be a part of this, that we're working with them. And so, it's been a great asset having that partnership to say, hey, Main Street, and again, Bridget brings new ideas, new creativities, new concepts, new attitudes to the whole thing. Not better or worse than what was there before, but just new. And so we appreciate that. And it's been, I think we're gonna see the fruits of the labor with those efforts just on that one item. And so
Bridget, I think, will bring and Main Street will bring a different look at how we address some of those type of concerns with Main Street, how we provide data to those people in Main Street, and one of the big conversations that we've had, and if this was all Bridget, was, the festivals, Bluegrass and Chili, Third Thursdays, those are great. Those are showcase events, but let's do some work behind the scenes to get some of those businesses the data that they need to make informed decisions. It's not about, hey, you've got to be open. It's about, hey, we'd like you to look at this data and maybe consider making some changes.
And I think some of the most recent example, what comes to my mind immediately is in Sapulpa when they had the shoot, and their businesses started staying open late, and now certain days of the week they do, and people will go to those businesses, from the Tulsa metro area or even from here, to go to those businesses that are now staying open certain nights later, whether it's restaurants or just local. I mean, that was.
That's a Main Street thing.
And that's, a Main Street, so that's just a Main Street, I don't know, that's just the first thing I thought of was the shoot.
in our meeting earlier today, you brought up a good point, that all in the meeting were mostly aware of. Explain to the council, to the community, what Main Street is versus what Main Street is perceived to be.
So.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. So, Main Street, sometimes, especially with the location and the activities that have previously been on Adair Street, and talking with certain people, Main Street's actually, it's Graham, it's not Adair Street, it's this, so actually Main Street is a concept. It's not one single street, it's the entire district. And it's all about the economic development for downtown. It's about revitalization for downtown. It's about making it beautiful. It's about making it, bringing up that quality of life, the walkability, all of those things, bringing in people, bringing in visitors, all of those things. It's not an event planner. That's just fun things. That's things that can be done in addition to. But what we're really here is to support the businesses and support the infrastructure and be basically an extension of the city to help generate the revenue and
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that you were, that they planned that, I'm
Oh, no,
just
no,
saying
no,
that is some data, I'm curious to see if these people do stay open late, is that just the data driven?
And it can be something as simple as Saturdays and soccer.
Yes.
And they get out of soccer and they're hungry and they're ready to go eat, but they drive right down Graham and 20 and there's nowhere to eat.
Yeah.
Or
And
shop,
just little things.
And it doesn't have to be an event,
Sure.
but it can be an event.
Right. Right.
It's a lot of all these little things put together.
Yeah, no, and if I put off the wrong image, I'm totally behind you, by the way. I just thought that would be good for discussion as far as that
Absolutely,
question.
and we do have a lot of ideas that we can absolutely discuss later. We have a lot of things planned and coming down the pike. We don't want to give all away our secrets.
I don't know. Well, let me ask this one last thing. Is there anything we are or not doing as a city or a council that we could be doing better to support this?
Absolutely, and I think some discussions are coming. And we can definitely do some things that are can really absolutely turn this whole thing around. Yes.
I will say, one of the things that I appreciate, and again, this is just directly in relation to Bridget's time here, and we're not going further back than that, is that I absolutely appreciate what Bridget brings to the table in terms of her positivity, her willingness to cooperate. I know many members of your board have said that, and so it's a good opportunity for us to have a good person and a partnership that can really benefit the city, but mostly Bridget is truly a team player. So that's a bonus for us.
Well, and that's the whole thing is, you know, there's a saying that I use quite often, is that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But really the key word there is opportunity, because there are some big hurdles and some uphill battles that we have to fight together, but there are so many opportunities that Pryor has, and especially our downtown. There's so many opportunities that are just sitting there, and unfortunately, if we don't do anything, they're just going to deteriorate and waste away, and we don't want to see that.
I would add that what you can do to help is watch Main Street's Facebook page, and when there are events like movie night or the All Red, attend those. It was a quick idea from Bridget to do that. Those theaters were 2/3 full those nights. We've heard from other downtown businesses that were like, hey, I was open. I had one guy said had 14 people come through the door that wouldn't have normally come through the door had they not been downtown to look at or to watch the movies. So that's a real impact. That's something that you can help, even if it's just hitting the button to share it. And we both think that this next MOU with the EDTA will be some of the pieces that we were missing. We needed the previous ones to get where we're at, and the next ones will take us to the next level. But that agreement that
It's going to be a little more
Main
linear.
Street is an important step.
Adam, I'd like to meet with the two of you sometime in the near future. I have some ideas that I've seen work somewhere else that might be beneficial.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
we spend a lot of time together.
All right.
Yep, anytime.
Further discussion? Thank you both.
Thank you.
Call for the vote.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Crandall.
Yes.
All right, we will go back to the regular agenda. And we will hit the mayor's report. Discussion and possible action regarding appropriations within 02-201 accounts, including but not limited to Christmas decorations and/or other community agreements to funding within the general fund 201 budget.
Motion.
Second.
We got a motion from Choya and a second from Bradshaw. So I kind of wanted to go down through here. There were some things that I think are fair to discuss openly, to be clear and get council opinion on as we go through this. This is not necessarily, well, it's not getting into departments. This is literally the 201 accounts. And so if you want, I can go down through what those are, and we can talk about those. This is the general operating fund of the budget for the primary expenses. The main reason I wanted to discuss this was I wanted to let everybody know that there were some things that we've had to cut out of there that were community related. And those entities have been contacted and I've let them know that we've had to make some changes this year. And I wanted to discuss that with you guys. I know that there have been some discussions regarding things like the Christmas lights and that funding, and so I wanted to discuss how we needed to approach that and look at that. So,
Well, Mr. Mayor, I'll give you my thoughts on that.
yeah,
We're
sure.
at the point now where although these things are great, appreciated and nice, if we don't have the funding, we don't have the funding, and we have to take some serious looks, and it's not we don't want, it's not we don't like, and it's not we don't appreciate, it's we may not have it, and we may have to make some changes simply because we don't have.
Sure.
So that's my view.
Can you kind of elaborate what the community agreements are, if you don't mind? Are you allowed to do
Yeah,
that?
no, yes. I think probably the best way to approach this, since we have the whole account to talk about, is kind of I don't know that we need to go into every single line because some of them are kind of
Yeah.
self-explanatory. But I do want to express some of the increases that we've seen, where those are at, and some of the accounts that we've taken away. And then I know for some of those, they're just conversation for us to have.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
please, since you did not give us a handout of what you are gonna go over, I would like you to go over every one of them so we're clear.
Yeah, that's fine, I can do that. I apologize, I didn't mean to do that. All right, so we'll start at the top. The first one is the Cobra admin fee. That's 5023. Do you want the account numbers too? Or can I
No.
just get you, Courtney, can you email it to them right now?
Can I ask why we're,
Do you not want to go through just the stuff that you're mentioning on the agenda instead of the entire 201 budget?
It's just the 201.
Correct.
So, yeah, I want to go through the whole thing.
is,
And what you got? I'm sorry.
what is the purpose of this on the agenda tonight?
Because there is some discussion that I know some council members want to have on some of these items,
Okay,
because it's come up,
I just
so.
trying to understand.
Well, and this is, it's also a little bit of clarity on how this budget, this 201 budget works.
Okay.
And what it covers, so when we talk about that, that we're aware. I know we've had some meetings where we have to say, well, that's this account, and that's what it comes from, so.
Is it gonna bother you if I look over your shoulder instead of writing
It
something down?
will not bother me at all.
I'm going to print this off for you guys.
Thank you.
Just know that these are not the most, I'm not going to do this one. So Cobra admin fee, that's gonna be our Cobra that we pay. Go down, next one is the general dues and subscriptions. Last year, we budgeted 21,000. We're currently at 16.2 on that one. The reason is, there's a lot of things that we pulled out of the 02-201 account that were perhaps to be paid out of fire funds or police funds or court funds. And where we could pull those and allocate those to, we did. Things like the OML, Oklahoma Municipal League, subscriptions, and things like that, those are all paid out of there. So we took that down, and basically what those were allocated to. The general, I'm gonna skip over the unallocated reserve and excess. Jeff kind of talked about that a little bit last week. General fleet insurance, fire insurance, and property insurance. Those we increased because we've talked about this all along. Those got pretty high. If you remember the general property insurance, that's the one we missed the mark on last year as a whole. When we budgeted that, we didn't have the right numbers, whatever it was, and we came in and we were under on that one. But for example, the fleet insurance went from 77,000 to 93,000. Just for the general public, I'm kind of, thank you. Kind of just using round numbers, not going into the dollars and cents for the most
Is
part.
it one page?
Yes.
Or is it a whole set or something?
One
No, it
page.
should be one page,
Just take one page and pass it down.
okay? And that's off of this spreadsheet, correct? Okay.
Thank you.
Property insurance, that's the one that we talked about that we missed the mark on, but that went up to 134,000. We have to have our property insurance. Utilities, that's gonna be the utilities that cover things like, City Hall, the park, the rec centers, all of those. Now, the rec center, those others are pulled out. The rec pays their own, but you're also gonna see when we pay that to MUB, that's a whole stack of utility bills, and usually when we pay that, it's gonna be,
The utilities that come out of 201 is going to be City Hall,
Right.
Graham Community Building,
The
but not
park.
like park,
right,
police, everything else. All of those are allocated to their respective departments.
right. So that's kind of where I was going, is that you're gonna see in the big chunk of things, that general utilities covers a lot of things. Now, we did this year also, just for reference, we cut all the utilities to the PYO and to the pool, the Whitaker Park. So there should be no utilities whatsoever in either of those buildings after, I don't know, a decade of paying those. General telephone, that's gonna be the telephone services here at City Hall. Outside services auditor, that's gonna be for the Hood, basically like we're gonna get from Hood and Associates. That pays for that audit that we have to do annually. General outside services, Accounting, self-explanatory. City beautification and cleanup, we don't have anything there. That at one point was one that the city would put $10,000 into for various projects, like the flower bed at Lincoln. If you've been by there this last week, you'll see that we took care of that. That won't be an expense anymore.
Question on that, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Would that also include the spring cleanup of dumpsters that we didn't do this past year? And I'm assuming that's not gonna happen again already in this budget for next year?
I don't believe that was out of that. Because
But
the
that's
amount of that
beautification and cleanup.
Correct. And some of these have been titled the way they were forever.
Okay.
We tried to go through, it's been quite a daunting process. I'm gonna say for us, it's really more for me and Courtney marking it and then her going in and kind of trying to retitle some of those so they make a little bit more sense. But that was one that I think, as long as I can remember back, 5,000 was the most, and that won't even begin to cover that citywide cleanup. So it was literally just for more beautification, and that's not had anything budgeted for quite a while. General outside services, typically that's for things where we've paid engineers out of, elevator repairs, those kind of maintenance things that we do. That does not go towards salaries. That's more contract and repairs around City Hall and some of those other buildings that we talked about with the utilities. General education expense, there are times where we have to pay for things like, we say like the newly elected officials classes, or things where somebody needs to take a mandated class or have some kind of education on what we're doing. You'll see that we took that out. A lot of what we did, if we knew somebody had to have, I know Lori is gonna have to have some for her continuing as treasurer. We allocated just a little bit more in there to cover for some of her stuff. We tried to put that really where it was needed rather than just sitting in a, retirement plan. That's just part of our insurance programs and things that we do. General software, that's software there. We've got time clocks. We pay for Fit and up the Gmail services and things like that. That's paid out of there. As you come down, city holiday display. This is one that I know, I imagine, Troy, you've got some comments on this one.
Oh, yeah. It just depends. In fact, I got some text message on it today. We're gonna have to get started if we're gonna have them. That's it. Now, we're talking not just the stuff downtown, but everything in the park.
Okay.
And it looks like it's gonna run close to $6,000 for everything.
So let me start that conversation.
Okay.
A few months back behind you on that, just for clarification. Because this has been kind of a heated debate, and I want to make sure that everybody fully understands how this conversation and timeline runs on this item. So as far back as April, I think Choya has said exactly what he said here. If we're going to do it, we got to do it. The city has in the past paid Becky Clark. I don't know if many of you know her. Becky Clark used to sit on the council. I think Chief Jordan was here. Terry, is that about right? When she was on the council. It's been quite a while. Since then, Becky has continued to upkeep and maintain. She's done a wonderful job with these lights that you see in the park, the wreaths that you see downtown. But there's typically been kind of a quiet expense to that. And so as we look at that, last year we really reduced what Becky was used to. We kind of nickeled and dimed her repairs to get them done. I think the previous year she'd been budgeted, I think it was a little over $5,000, maybe $7,000 at one point. I know there was one year we paid way more than that. And I told Becky that was an expense we're gonna have to watch. And so if the lights are absolute horrible, then we'll do what we can, but we can't allocate that kind of money this year for that. And so as we did that, I'm sure many of you saw it was the mayor that stole Christmas. But before we bring that into the equation, I want to make sure that everybody understands that I had a conversation with Becky, and that conversation was, what do you need? What do we need? And so with that, by the end of our conversation, she needed 1 box of lights. These are commercial LED lights. They're they're not ones you pick up at Walmart. You order them from a company in Missouri, and they are about $500 a box. And I said, okay, well, how many boxes do you need? And she said, I need 1 box of white lights. I said, okay, well, listen, get yourself 2 boxes. We'll start there. In the meantime, figure out what you need, because we don't have $5 grand for that this year. At that point, I was starting to become the mayor that stole Christmas. In the meantime, I was 2 or 3 times in that conversation that all we needed was 1 box of white lights. And I said, well, okay, but I'm going to tell you to get 2. Well, if I have to turn a horse yellow, that's not going to go well. So we need 1 box of white lights in case we need them, and we're good to go. Okay, so she's got her 1 box ordered. We have authorized 2, but we also talked about other options. Other options being that instead of the general fund carrying that load, we've seen that our community lately has been very willing to help carry some of these things that are traditional or events for the city. So, you know, why don't you reach out and see if there's businesses or entities or private people that want to help with that. A lot of that expense that goes into the lights is an hourly rate paid to fix those lights. And historically, the city has paid her $10 an hour to do that. And so in that discussion over the next couple days, weeks, we found that there were businesses that were offering up to, I think 1 business said $1,000. We have other businesses that were willing to chip in. I think there was a GoFundMe set up at one point. And then we discussed the wreaths that are downtown. And those are in that downtown corridor where we have specific funds outside of the general fund dedicated for that could help with that. So there were a lot of options to get us quickly to the needed amount. And so where we're at now is we have our box of lights, and that's where we're at. So as we go forward, there's been a lot of effort to try to help find alternative ways to keep that, I don't know if you want to call it a tradition, Troy, is that fair? That tradition, that thing we have in the park with presenting those lights to the public, which, you know, the kids love it, adults love it. And so we want to make sure that we can do that, but we also want to make sure that the public understands at this point the city is going to try to find other ways to help get these things done. We're not just going to say no, take Christmas and stick it. We are trying to find alternative ways to take care of these things that are important to a lot of people. And so that's the scenario on that. And so with that, I will take care of her box of lights, but we would encourage anybody that's willing to participate in that to reach out to City Hall and let us know if you're willing to help with those Christmas light displays. By any means, we don't want to do without them. But like Councilman Gantier said, there's other things that we have to cut as well, and so that's really the discussion on the holiday lights. You know, we are not against Christmas. We're not against those warm feelings that come with that time of year. We're not against the memories that those lights create for people and the traditions the Pryors had, but we have
So
to.
do we have anything budgeted for 24, 25? It's nothing in there, is it a zero?
No,
It's
it'll
zero?
be, as of right now, it'll be 0.
Thank you, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so that's that. Any other questions on that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So is this request to get people to donate to this Christmas light project? Does that include the salary of the $10 an hour too? And we paying that to just one person, or are we paying it to the whole crew that goes and does
I
it?
believe that's to 1.
Okay, the rest are all just volunteers that do that?
So,
Okay.
just to be clear, first, I want to make sure Troy doesn't walk home marred or scarred. He has helped her for many years.
Oh, yeah.
And does not collect
No.
that.
Okay.
That's one of those things that he does because he's a good guy. And we appreciate
But
that.
Kimmy and I go down
See-
there, there's another couple or two, and that's how the wreaths get done with all the lights and stuff that's
Yes.
in that. So
And
we'll
Bob-
take a Saturday and,
Bub's been good about helping install those in the past. These are stored at the Parks building, I believe, upstairs in Frank's building, and then as she works on them, she takes them to her home and restrings the lights that are.
Well, now, this is that's the stuff that's in the park.
Right.
The wreaths and stuff are still down there. I think it's down there. They bring them in from the street department or
Right.
somewhere down in there.
Yeah, I think.
But all of the things that are in the park, she has to take them home and go through all of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at there.
Are there
So you've only committed to one box of lights?
I told her she could get 2.
Right, but two.
I told her she could
So
get 2.
this GoFundMe account, I know that there have been accounts, or what we call donation accounts, that the police department have, the fire department, for people to donate to different projects. So why is there a GoFundMe account instead of going into the cities?
That GoFundMe
Because
account,
that gets that GoFundMe gets a big chunk of that.
that GoFundMe account was not set up or operated or fund started or written or done anything by anybody outside.
It's not a city approved
It is
or
not a
coordinated.
city-approved
Right,
account.
that's true.
Okay. Do we know how much money's in it?
I don't
I
have
don't know
anything to
either.
do with that account. And I'm not, at this point, I don't mean to sound this way, but it's not the city's GoFundMe. I'm not worried about it. I would really rather we work it through donations accounts and things like that can be registered, is registered the right word, not registered, but monitored, accounted for, and out there for any other donation account that we would do.
So is the EDTA, Adam, gonna pay for the downtown portion of these lights that need to be replaced? I know you've been discussed, it's been discussed.
We definitely look at it
Okay.
as something that could be done, yes.
Can we divert hotel motel funds from that?
I
Or-
actually wrote that down as something to look into as a possibility.
That's something we've been talking about. I thought it was gonna be brought up there, but it hasn't got brought up there yet.
Well, those are,
Yeah,
those
I'm
are,
gonna look for some grants too and see if there's any federal grants.
right. And again, let's not forget that we've had several businesses, one in particular, that has said, here's a check on my desk for you. And so,
But using hotel motel tax money, this is city funds these are city lights. So you're just saying that a suggestion is to possibly take city money from the hotel motel tax and just kind of swoop it over in to pay for the lights, which is
I'm
city
not saying
property,
that was
it's
just
city
an
money anyway.
What
I'm not saying, that was an
Lee
idea
and I are
that was
both
just brought up.
saying is if this is something that could possibly be completely paid for out of hotel motel as a tourist.
And that being said, my next question is, and Houston, you're the hotel motel tax guru that has happened in the past. Do our Christmas lights, are they a drawing destination that gets people to come to Pryor and stay at a motel here just to see our Christmas lights and then leave out the next day?
I'll make him answer that.
Well,
I mean, let's be realistic.
Confirm or deny.
let's be
That's
realistic.
question.
When people come to the Christmas parade, does that bring any business to town?
Yes.
Okay. When they come to the Christmas parade, how many people that go to the Christmas parade say, well, let's run by the park and see how the park's done? I know a lot of people that take their kids by the park, and they're used to seeing that. It's a tradition, and so they're seeing that. So they may not stay in a hotel, but do you think those kids are gonna say, I'm not hungry, just take me home? No, they
probably
wanna
not.
go somewhere to eat.
Well,
And they're gonna wanna go.
Yeah, they're gonna eat at the Holiday Cafe downtown and then they're gonna go home.
if you want Houston Britton's opinion on this,
Yeah,
a lot of the conversations that we've had lately between the city, the EDTA, the Main Street program, and the chamber is how do we get people downtown? I will tell you that when I go to the gym every single morning and I pull up to that Graham stoplight, and when the lights are up and I look left and I see the district, or what will be the district, I see the lights, it's appealing, right? It makes it look like things are going on down there, it's exciting, and it's better than what the alternative we have right now, which is no lights. So am I in agreement that it makes it look better? Yes, absolutely. Am I in agreement that it's gonna draw someone from, Muskogee to drive all the way up here to spend the night to see that? No,
No,
no.
that's not-
But what it does is it brings value to our downtown. It brings, opportunity for people that do come here to enjoy that, and then especially during the Christmas parades. And then the Lights On event that Main Street has. So I mean, ultimately, what we want to do is to figure out a way to keep them up there permanently. To where if it's, you know, in the middle of July, someone pulls down, the whole goal is to get people to come off of 69 and to come into the district, the downtown district. And that's what we're working so hard to do. And all these ideas and memorandums or MOUs that we're coming up with and working with business owners and building owners, and how do we change the complexion of downtown to make it better for, not for the, and here's the one thing I would say. The biggest concern that we have tonight that we're talking about is revenue, generating revenue. Revenue cures all. Anybody that's been in business knows that. So how do we generate revenue? We work on that downtown corridor. And so if those lights are something that draws people in, 100%.
How well do businesses on 71st Street and Broken Arrow do every year during Christmas? And I ask that because of Rama.
I think on 71st Street, they do business well because of Outlet Mall, or because of.
Well, I mean Rama. Anybody?
Oh, yeah.
How
We
many
go to
people
Rama
go to
every
that
single year.
Now, I understand we're in a budget crunch, and by the way, if you wear a Grinch suit, I'll donate money to that fund, so.
It's done. How much
But,
you donating?
I'll get back with you. No, obviously, we're in a budget crunch where our general fund is, anything that we take out of it needs to, it needs to bring a return on the investment at the same time. Having something like this is something for the citizens, and also, how many people drive to places? I'm not saying we have to do it at the scale of Rama or anybody, or, you know, anybody like that, and have your lights set to the radio like some people do. But does anybody from Main Street have an idea as far as what I mean, I'm searching for ideas here.
Well, here's the thing. We own the lights already.
Yeah,
Okay.
We have the lights.
we just need to
So,
So how much does it cost
repair
us
them and put them
to,
up.
well, now you got all three of us in
Yeah.
there, so.
how much
one of the
does it
things-
cost for us to operate them?
We don't want to stand next to each other.
Well,
So
just
one of the
think,
things that we're looking at to help with that question is placer data that will put it in our hands to where we can say, okay, we're having an event like the lighting of downtown or the park, and we can draw a digital fence, and that placer, we talked about it at the last EDTA meeting, that placer data will track unique cell phones that come through. There's no personal data or anything, but it tracks the unique cell phones based on the map apps that you have on, the weather tracking. Oklahoma is one of the top areas or states for tracking. because
tracking
of weather.
cell phones?
Tracking cell phones. It just tracks cell phones. It doesn't know anything about you. But having that data lets us tie back that question you just asked. How many people actually come in? You know, from that data, we learned last week that 50%, some big percentage, you had it in the newspaper, some big percentage of the rec center's membership came from outside of Pryor. 60%. So we'll be able to take that, draw it around there
Y'all
and
said
say.
60, he said 36, so.
You said 36? Outside of, okay.
Well, and of course, my reason in asking that too was, yeah, it would cost us a lot of money to put something massive on like what they do, but at the same time, would that encourage over the years people to come in?
What
That's
you
what
could
we
do
do.
is.
I know
Like
tons.
Lori said, down in Sapulpa, oh my goodness,
Yeah, I know tons of
we
people.
don't have $400,000 to do that.
I know tons of people that
you can
they
drink.
drive over an hour away to go see stuff like that, and so.
Well, now, the money that we have invested supposedly as a city, when they bought that stuff for the park, was over $45,000 worth of stuff that they put out there. And there's a lot of stuff out there. She goes through and she makes sure all of it works. And as you all know, we've got snowballs flying, we've got all kinds of different stuff out there. And that all takes maintenance, and it has to have timers, and it has to have all kinds of stuff to make it work. So she starts fairly early to have it up by that time. And right now is about the time she starts working on the stuff for the park. Now, we usually take a Saturday and go down. Used to be the old maintenance shop down there at MUB, and that's where we put together and make sure all of the wreaths work and everything, and then they put them up the next week. So that's how that works. But her biggest part is trying to make sure everything out in the park works, and it's all LED stuff. So it's an undertaking for sure.
So I told you I wasn't gonna tell you all my secrets, but I'll give you this.
while you're here.
I am
so.
working on a grant and working on corporate sponsorships for downtown LED lighting and music, and I actually do have someone coming in on Thursday afternoon to quote downtown for all of that. Will it all happen this year? I don't know, but hopefully
Get the
next year.
grant.
I mean, if I get the grant, I'll find out in November. It has to be shovel ready within 6 to 12 months, so there's that.
You know, this discussion is good and the plans are good and I think you're trying real hard, but you gotta deal with downtown. Saturday morning, there's no place to, you can find a parking place where you want, there's not 4 stores open on the whole street.
And that's a big.
That's a problem, and I don't think you can do anything about that.
That is part of the undertaking in this next MOU with the EDTA, or the next phase of it, is addressing that. And then, I mean, honestly, we never got to a vote because we tabled it to see what some other entities did with the placer data. But I'm fairly certain that we will do something with some sort of data-driven evidence that we can provide when you say, okay, how many people come? And the thing with the one we looked at is we don't just get immediate, we get the previous 4 years. So we would be able to come in and say, okay, on the nights that those lights are on, or once they're put up, here's what the traffic looks like there. And then we can go back to those downtown businesses and say, this is the traffic that you're missing. Now, get them attracted down here.
Part of that conversation we're having daily, and I would say daily and weekly, is how do we change the culture downtown? How do we change the businesses?
And our fight is this, every town like Pryor the size, downtown's dying. All the businesses leave, they have some antique shops, and you've got a big fight on your hands to try and keep Pryor going. And it's
But
gonna
we're
take
willing to
business
fight.
people.
We're willing to fight, Bruce.
And that has been historically accurate, but if you take a look, especially with the data like through Placer AI, the majority of people that are moving back to towns like ours, you know, late 20s, 30s, 35s, they're looking for places like this to live, to work, to grow their families. They want more of that hometown feel. I mean, look at Claremore, look at Collinsville. I mean, even, you know, from where I grew up, even though I spent my 20s here, where I grew up in the Barsville area, the downtown area, it was a 9 to 5 culture. When Phillips shut down, 5 o'clock, it was dead. It was a ghost town. Now you go there, it's eateries, it's retail, it's things to do. It's an entire atmosphere and vibe, and it's fun. And there's a whole movement for this type of things, but it's gonna take us all working together to make that happen. And it's not gonna happen overnight. There's gonna be a lot of growing pains, but it's gonna take a lot of consistency and hard work and consistently moving the needle towards that direction.
So, is this agenda item tonight just about the council approving $6,000 for Christmas lights? Is that what it's all boiling down to?
Well, it's part of it. It was kind of the modifier to why I put this on there, but
That's a great point.
I want to also go through some of these things.
We'll take a motion.
I want to also go through and make sure that everybody understands that where we cut, why we did what we did. So,
I think that you're off to a good, that data is gonna be so important to, that's really good.
Well,
They're
and
good.
Charles, we
That's
want
good.
you guys to know
It's
that
good.
the EDTA, Main Street, and the Chamber are on board with the city of, you know, our part of it is finding those revenue drivers and making sure you guys know how that flows into the budget and what we're doing, so.
well, thank you all. All right.
When can we have an answer on using hotel motel stuff instead of general fund money? Because I think it's a good cause, but when we are watching the general fund budget, hotel motels
But
are
it takes
completely other
somebody to
thing.
apply for it, so the chamber, if we did the hotel motel, I'd have to apply for the grant.
Just pull your chair up.
And, yeah,
Yeah, just-
but the way that works for the chamber is that I apply for the grant for $6,000, it's awarded, I gotta write a check from the chamber to the group for the $6,000 and then go through the process to get the money back.
But first,
While
let's
not
make
the
sure
cleanest,
that
but it's not,
expenditure's okay.
yeah. I mean, it might not be the cleanest, but it's not coming out of our general fund, at least that way. It's coming out of an account we have money in.
So I think where I'm at with this, and then, you know, maybe it is what it is. I just want the public to know that we're not saying no, but we are saying that we need to seek other options sometimes. And I think this has been a healthy, very healthy discussion. I appreciate everybody's input on it. If we look into hotel motel and we find it, then we're good. If we look into other forms and funds, or even if the community steps up, that vests them in on it. But as far as we go, as of right now, that's 2 boxes.
Grand Gateway, they got anything for this?
Yeah.
I'll ask them. If they want me
Maybe
to. I will make that note.
maybe we need to have another
Maybe.
event. Maybe that, we can get money that way.
Riding Christmas lights.
Mayor, at this point, could we do a no action on this until we get our answers on the other questions we had? Not saying no, not saying yes.
On the holiday light display?
Uh-huh,
That's
on this A.
That's just one item in the whole
One
thing.
discussion there. So as we go forward, we'll look into that, Tyler, if you'll accept that.
So are you bringing this up then, and bringing all this up so we can discuss right now that we want to move less from that account and put it into this account? Is that what we're working on here?
These are discussions we can have. What do you have in mind?
We're still going down the list, so I'm looking while you're
Okay.
talking.
Okay, I like your shirt, by the way.
I do too.
Makes me want to have a pineapple.
Well, okay. By the way, Bruce's birthday was this week too. You hit what, 85?
72, feel like 85.
Joyous is just coming up.
And Joy, you got one?
Thursday.
Hey, we still got ice cream from last week in the fridge, so
Yeah,
we're done.
there we go.
Yeah, I already got that. You were late to the meeting, so. All right, so, that's where we're at there. Recodification, we've talked about that. That is, with our city codes and things that are seriously in need of being, recoded. That's what that's for. Right now we have, half of that at 13,000. Election expenses, those have gone up.
Yeah, you can.
People that need that.
So we had to increase
You
more
want
there.
Christmas lights too, don't
Elections
you?
have to happen.
But I don't want some little.
Legal publications, that's for,
Go to the doctor.
I file all kinds of stuff. That every time we do zoning changes,
Right.
I have to file
Maybe,
stuff
maybe
with the
not.
county and,
I'm just saying.
correct.
yeah.
Drug testing expenses, if you're an employer, that's what you got. Courtney, what else would that be, just drug testing?
That one is, for, like, if we have a workers' comp claim and they have to have drug testing done.
Has to all be covered.
Does the city do random drug testing?
We do.
How many did we perform this past year?
I'd have to get that information for you, I'm not sure.
But we have done some.
It's in our policy that we have to do random drug testing.
Do we do for cause
For cause, yeah.
or like post-accident
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah, that's what I meant with the workers' comp thing.
Terry, I'll get that number to you.
Well, like, you're talking about an individual accident, but I'm talking like vehicular accidents or things like that. Do we test for that or no?
Yeah, anytime that there's any kind of accident, we do that.
Christmas employee appreciation, we budgeted 5,600 last year. We didn't use all of that last year, and we got everybody taken care of. And we have fewer employees this year than last year, so we've got it there. I think our employees are definitely worth that. Main Street, you'll see that the 20,000 has been removed. Right now, the 20,000 has been discussed to be paid through Fund 98, or however the EDTA chooses to do that. They've agreed to take on that discussion. We have Pelivan, the 32,000. Notice, like I said, we're not budgeting any more for that right now, or that I intend to. I think before we would even entertain that, we need to know that we're getting our money's worth out of that. The sad thing that we need to keep in mind is that when we start talking about removing this item and the next one, there are those that, that will be directly benefited from those accounts, Relevant and the Senior Nutrition Center, that don't have the means to care for themselves.
Right.
They don't have those, it's it's unfortunate that there are people that have to suffer through those things, but, you know,
But then
it
we
is
have
what
them.
It is what it is. I know that we've seen some changes, not necessarily at the card center, but I know the card center takes care of a lot of the people there at Mayor Wallace. Mayor Wallace has, had their board has gone through there and looked at a lot of the situations that are taking place there with the care or the lack of care that they've had with the elderly or the homebound. And some of that investigating that their board led to the management of Mayor Wallace leaving. And so they're trying to help improve the lifestyle, the quality of life for some of those people there that don't have it. And so it just goes to show that we do have a portion of our stewardship of our population that is very dependent on those two accounts right there. The Senior Nutrition Center, which provides food for the card group. Miscellaneous, Cassell, General Office Supplies, miscellaneous budget sheet. Purchases put here that weren't supposed to be here were moved to the accounts that they were to be to, and so we were able to take that down. And, you know, we have to pay for some of those things. Youth program, again, there's nothing this year. Sertoma's been notified that there's no amount for them. I've talked to the American Legion, and they're all aware that this year we just can't. And so those discussions were not discussions that I really, by any means, wanted to have, but you know, we had to let them know that this year that donation had to be cut. And then that brings us lastly down there to the credit card fees and bank expenses. That title looks new because last year that was, what did we have that called before? It was credit card fees. Our credit card, it wasn't a name that fit the real purpose of that expense. Those are the credit card fees that we have to pay for using our credit card collections and things like that, so.
But we're charging people now that credit card fee, so then we shouldn't have.
We still have fees that we have to pay to credit card companies to provide services to us, so it's not gonna wipe our bill completely, it just greatly reduces that.
So are you saying then when we use our city credit card to buy stuff, we still get charged a fee?
No, the city credit cards have nothing to do with this account. This is for us to process credit card payments at our windows.
So what we're charging to if, let's say you come in and
Yeah, I thought we were
you've got a
getting
speeding
reimbursed.
ticket, you pay with your credit card, typically there's like a 3-4% charge. And that's the charges we did. But in order to have that credit card service, in order to use that credit card processing and the hardware, the hardware and things, there's still a fee we have to pay to that company to have those card processors. The rec pays that, the golf pays that. What we've been able to reduce is the amount charged to the card swiper, the card user. And so we still have to pay to have the ability to use credit card fees, our credit cards, so. So there you go, that's the 201 accounts. Any questions on anything? Terry, did you come up with anything?
No.
So back to, I think it was Tyler's original question. What are we doing here? I mean, what is our intent here? What action are we taking, not taking, and on what specific line items? Are we going to approve amounts in these budget line items tonight?
If there's a change that you have that we want to discuss or vote on that we could do, you know, for example, we brought up the Christmas lights. That was one that, you know, some of the council felt one way, some felt the other. Really looking for input and also letting you guys know what major changes were made in the general fund, general account.
Mayor, at this point, can we take time to look this 201 file over and look at it a few days before we take any action one way or the other?
We can definitely do no action on this. You can look at it all you want. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this discussion is great. I appreciate it. It's helpful. But until we see it in its context of everything else, it's kind of,
Bingo.
kinda
He's
hard
not
to make a
asking for
decision.
you guys to approve the very first page of our budget tonight.
What?
He's not asking for you guys to approve the first page of our budget tonight. This is just discussion in case you guys wanna make any changes before we actually do the budget.
One of the changes we had last year was, when we talked about the, employee Christmas stuff, there were changes that the council chose to make. Council said, hey, can we budget that in? Yes, we made that change, we budgeted those things in. This is presented to you guys so you can look at that and come back and have that, that awareness of what this account, this is the general fund, general account. Now, there are others that go into the departments covered by the general fund, but this is the general fund, general account. This is where you're gonna see most things are outside of departmentally. These are the things that most things are taken care of, out of, so, you know, you wanna call it informational, I'm okay with that. If there's discussion, if Joya, you wanna say, hey, let's put in there 6,000, 5,000 for the holiday display, and the council says yes, then I will put that in there.
But you're gonna have to come up with it from somewhere.
I would ask that if you do that, you come up.
That's the thing, you gotta come up with it from somewhere.
But absolutely, if you wanna take no action, take this and look at it and visit with me through the next week, I'm okay with that. That is 100% okay.
Well, I think the issue is here is trying to get the use tax, if we can do that, to Tyler's point. So we need to figure out if we can do the use tax, or the holiday tax, or the hotel motel tax. I'm sorry. Yeah, hotel motel tax. My
Yeah, that would
apologies.
help a lot there.
Yeah, that's,
He's making up new streams.
that's the first step we need to take here.
Well, if you did go for the hotel motel tax option on your Christmas lights, they still have to be purchased up front, and then they go through a process to be reimbursed. So somebody's got to still buy them.
No.
Then you may or may not reimburse them.
Houston just volunteered.
Good man.
Say what?
Well, I'll tell you, last night, the hotel motel tax, that subject, the hotel motel board, Bridget and I both were in front of them last night to get our reimbursements for our yearly allotments. That was kind of mentioned, that we should, that the lights were mentioned by one of the members. So I don't think it's gonna be an issue to get across there, but it's ultimately gonna end up in front of you.
But this would also include the lights at the park too, not just the ones through downtown. Because
Sure.
that needs to be
Correct.
addressed
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. So, yeah, we would apply for the $6,000.
Bridget, if you have something, would you please step up?
Now, unless she gets this grant by tomorrow.
Adam, you sure you don't want to come up too?
But have they actively, has the people that's doing this, have you all actively asked donations from people?
I hit everybody up in Alaska and they didn't know what I was talking about.
Well, that you're barking up the wrong tree up there. You need to be taking care of business down here.
I'm gone for 2 weeks.
But I know, but that's what we need to do. I mean, I know that there's at least one bank that's offered $1,000, and there's some other banks, but nobody said they've come and asked them. So
I think there's an opportunity for that. I mean, we both can probably put something out on our Facebook pages and say, hey,
Absolutely.
we would like, if you'd like to donate to this, let us know now. I can set it up in my system at the chamber. They can donate through that way, or let us know, and we'll bill them or invoice them or however. So we can do that. We can give that a shot. And then maybe we reduce that amount, and then I go to the hotel motel tax and only have to ask for 2,000. And if we do 2,000, then that would basically take care of our downtown, you know, as well.
And one of the newer members of the hotel motel board was actually talking about using the Christmas lights as a tourist type attraction and putting it in conjunction as part of the tour to hook up with Wagner and Muskogee. So that was talked about last night, so. How big we can do that?
Very healthy to
Can
say
it
these
be
are
a,
active
can it be a Christmas shoot?
discussions
I don't know.
that are in our
Well, it's
day.
the same light system that they have in Wagner, because the same person built them.
So I'll tell you what, from what I'll commit to is tomorrow, we will build a flyer. We will get it out in our social media and to our newsletter. And anybody who gets it on our social media, just share it. We'll set it up to where it can come through the chamber, and then people can can donate.
Okay.
And I'm quite certain there will probably be some companies that'll step up and donate.
Okay.
But
We'll
you
go-
just need
we'll make our-
6,000 is all you need.
That's what she said.
Last year, she spent about 5, a little under 5. She was committed 2 boxes, needed 1. So we have a bank with another, so probably about 3,500 or less would be great to match what she would need according to her.
I think probably ultimately, I'd just say proceed. Oh, that's just me. But I think we can come up with a number.
Okay.
But I'm sure if anything over that comes in, it's just gonna make it better and better and better. So
100%.
the donations come in,
If they come in and we get 10,000, then the chamber will
We'll put it in
get
the
that
account.
4,000 to put back in the bank for next year. I think if we just get a revolving account going and just keep,
And
each
just
year we just have to apply less to it.
Just to be clear and to the point, these are great ideas. When we talked, last week we talked about revenue increase. These are ways that we can create those needed revenues. It's thinking outside the box. And so if this work, then, mission accomplished on this one item. And so that's really where we need to put our mind frame is into these kind of, it's been a very good discussion. I appreciate it. I will need to know when you want me to put that Grinch suit on so you donate. So I'll 100%.
And by the way, December the 7th will be our Christmas parade in conjunction with Main Street. So we'll have the same downtown festival, music, everything going. We'll try to make that bigger and better every year, which will bring more people downtown.
So then Bruce, you want to make a
Hopefully the
motion to go
business will be open.
Sure, I'll make that motion.
second.
Motion from Bruce and a second from Galtier. Call for the vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier.
Yes.
Thank you. I do appreciate that discussion. Item B, discussion and possible action to waive the bidding requirement in the best interest of the city and approve the purchase of a new server and required software at state contract price from Dell Technologies in the amount of $15,525.51 from clerk capital outlay 44445-5417. Do I have a motion for discussion?
I'll make it.
Motion from Choya,
Second.
second from Bradshaw.
So waiving the bidding requirement, what can be done because it's at state contract price?
I'm asking, I assume so, but I'm also asking for you guys to waive the bidding requirement because we have a contract with, sorry, wrong item, yes.
So,
Run that by me.
so in your ordinances, I pulled it up anticipating that. So, the 2,500 quote bid requirement may be waived by the city council if the city council determines the same will be prudent to do so and in the best interest of the city.
What's the purpose of the new server?
The one we currently have is more than 10 years old, and it is, the best way to put it, crap. It's old, it's outdated, it can't go any further, it's past end of life.
Are there any security risks, online security risks with our current server?
No, I'm not worried about security risks for that. It can't update anymore. It's running on 2012 version SQL, and the one that we hopefully are going to purchase with this line item is 2022.
Or is this something that you can still function with until we get a budget going?
I don't know how we're still functioning now, if I'm being honest. I don't know when this server is going to crap out, but I am going to say I am in the process of applying for a grant, a cybersecurity grant that will reimburse us for this. So, but I don't have an approval for that, of course. I haven't been awarded.
How much you got in the account?
Technically nothing. There's no budget yet.
Well, how much are you programming into that account? Let me rephrase that.
My number plugged in for this is 125,000.
For the city clerk capital outlay account.
But this is for all the things that we're wanting to hopefully get with Cassell, new updates and things with Cassell, plus all the server stuff. And I've actually budgeted a little bit more than the quote came in at, anticipating that it was going to be more expensive than what we actually got at stage contract pricing. So.
I share Bruce's concerns. I hate spending anything until we see where we are. I mean, that's in general, not specific.
It's not just my office that functions off of this server, it's the entire city, so just keep that in mind.
So if the server decided to go down completely to where it couldn't be repaired, nobody's operating?
We have a off-site backup of a backup that we could you know, pull data from the most recent backup that they have, but outside of that, we would be down.
Have you looked in the cost of what it would cost to run one through the cloud instead of an on-prem?
If we run one through the cloud, in what you're saying, for Cassell, it's quite more expensive, but it's not gonna give us the functionality that we need for the rest of our stuff that we operate with for the rest of the city. If we run through the cloud with Fit, we risk, if for some reason that contract is ever not renewed for whatever reason, we
Or
don't
something
have
happens
access to
offsite.
that information because it's not our server.
I don't know that I'm against this, but my problem is, like Chris was talking about, until we get a budget, see where we're at, let's just try and roll like we're going and see when we get a budget what we can do then.
This is coming out of capital outlay, so it's not in the general fund as far as the budget goes, but
Mayor, when do you plan on presenting us with the budget?
We're gonna spend all day tomorrow talking about it.
I'm
going through
forcing
it.
him to.
So, yep. So as soon as we can.
So nobody calling.
Yeah.
Leave him alone.
I will say that last year, about the same time, Fit did come to us and say, you're gonna have to do something quick. You're one breath away from a crash. They presented us with pricing for off-property, which would be our off-site, which would be at their facility, versus this, which would be us having that. When you weigh out the risks and things, you know, like you said, if something happens there, we lose all of our stability. If the contract, for whatever reason, we lose that, it's all off-site. Then you've got the expense of bringing it on. I mean, weighing it back and forth, this is actually in the best interest of things.
yeah.
But that was a year ago that they said you're one breath away, and we're still a year later, and we're still,
And like I said, I don't know how we're still hanging on.
So,
I
When
know we wouldn't
the-
have to go through Fit. There's other server companies out there that do virtual stuff that, I mean,
you
Fit
are-
might support it, but
You are correct with that, but for us, Fit does all of our IT stuff. They handle all of that as an office as a service.
yes, I just know that technology costs are continually climbing and that the cloud has become virtually as secure as anything that you're gonna have on-prem, maybe even more so, because anybody can come in here and access, if they got in the building, they could access your server. And you're gonna have to access a site to get in, to access somebody's actual server if you're not hacking into it. I know that most companies are moving away from on-prem stuff because of you're going to have to replace them continually. And with cloud stuff, that company is taking on all of those risk and cost.
But this server is, I don't want to say guaranteed because I don't think it's officially guaranteed, but essentially guaranteed for 10+ more years. The SQL 22 that we're hoping to purchase with this is not reaching end of life for quite some time. That's why I wanted to purchase the most updated one so that we didn't have to do this again anytime soon. If we go to a cloud-based service, we're gonna have monthly or annually subscription costs that we're gonna have to pay to them for that as well. And that's why I opted for this versus Fit doing that, because this is lots cheaper.
Did the amount of storage and other things that you quoted account for any level of expansion within the city besides what the services it's currently providing?
No,
For
we
10
don't really
years?
need, we have plenty of storage as far as that goes. We don't run into a problem with that.
Okay.
It's just the functionality of this stuff because it's very old.
How much more money would we be spending if we went, because you mentioned we'd be spending more money using the cloud-based services. Do
The
you have
quote
an
he
idea
gave
of
me,
how-
we already pay them.
Is it 600 to 700
Yeah.
a month?
We're looking at, if this is gonna last 10 years, we're talking about 1,500 a year, right? So if you're paying $600 or $700 a month for a cloud, then you're about 3 months in, you're over what you've paid.
I think this could be brought back up once we have, I mean, we're talking not 6 months down the road, the budget's gonna be coming out soon, then we'll know where we are. I think we shouldn't take any action on this until we see where we are
Yeah, I agree.
financially.
Chase, legally, how do we operate and make expenditures without having a budget?
We did this on something else, I don't remember what it was.
It was the car, the lease.
The car, that's right. So you can earmark for the next year, but the budget you approve has to have this in it.
So all these expenditures that we're making right now, we're committed, more or less, that that's definitely gonna be in the budget, because you've already spent it, or
Or earmarked it.
earmarked it for expenditure.
Approved it, yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm against it. I think this would be great, but,
What if
the
we,
number of not burdening that account.
what if we approve it, potentially approve it, but the actual purchase is contingent on the approval of the budget?
Well, that sounds complicated.
We're gonna approve a
Well,
budget.
let me-
In other words, you're approving it, but we're not actually gonna cut a check to buy it until the budget's approved and then do it at that meeting.
We're still doing the same thing. We're still setting the money aside, saying we've gotta spend it, right?
Yeah.
No, by approving it, you're just giving the approval, you're not encumbering anything by approving it.
How long would it take to install if we purchased it now?
They are expecting it to take about a week, week and a half to get here, and then about a week or maybe 2 weeks, depending on schedule to get everything installed.
Okay, so we're not looking 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road.
And item C on the agenda is for Fitz installation of it.
I would like to make a motion for no action.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion for no action from Gantier, second from Smith. Call for the vote. Robert's rules, you know.
Lamar,
A yes vote would be to
No
Take
action.
no action. Yes.
Shropshire,
Nope.
Bradshaw,
No.
Rushiers,
I'll do a yes.
Brown,
No.
Trammell,
No.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
That's 4 and 4. You guys are getting good at this tonight.
Right.
You're earning your money, Mayor.
Courtney, a no action would be not taking it off the table, right?
Correct. Correct. We would still have to make a vote to do something
Yes,
with it.
we're just approving, make sure
If you
everybody's.
say yes, you're voting no, that we're taking no action on this item tonight.
Tonight, yeah. It's not saying we don't want it,
And-
it's just tonight.
A no leaves it on the table that
Off
we,
the table, I can put up, back on the agenda at any point. It doesn't limit it for a specific time to come back to the agenda or anything like that.
What kind of a backup do you have now for all this information that,
We,
Yeah, we're past it.
okay, sorry.
No.
okay, so it's still on the table.
Still on the table.
you said no?
Motion did not carry.
So let me ask this, do we have an idea of how much we are projecting for that account?
Well, it's
125,000.
125,
Yeah, you
so
already
it,
answered that, okay.
it's like I think we're gonna have plenty of money to do that,
Exactly.
even if we
The
don't,
money's gonna be
so
there.
that's not a, I don't even think that's any reason to wait, yeah.
And whenever we approve the budget, we approve it, we don't approve the budget as a whole. You go by the parent accounts, what, like the 215, you do general fund, then we would go to a separate account.
Correct.
So even
The
though
primary
we
thing
rejected one, we could still approve
Primary
this
thing
one.
we approve first is the general fund, the O2.
Correct.
The others are not on the same time frame.
So the outlook of potentially overburdening this account at this point in time, I know this is not the general account, but we're still responsible for it.
Now, this is cap.
I'm curious, how much of that capital money did we spend last year? That was
I
budgeted?
didn't have to budget this much money last year, because we didn't need as much, so I thought.
And are there
Last
any,
year I budgeted 75,000.
How much did we spend?
I don't have that number in this sheet, I'd have to look.
well, are there any other expenditures like, that are at or around this amount that you are foreseeing that we may have to look at this next year? Because 15 here, 25 there, 10 there, you know,
So
are
right
we
now
looking
we
at
For
have-
anything
this
like that?
account or for these purchases? or
For this
the
account,
server?
for this account, for what we're budgeting
I mean, I have
for this
other things
account.
that I would like to purchase that I've worked into the budget, but that doesn't mean I know.
Right, but I mean, but necessity-wise, is there anything that's within the necessity for you to operate, or the city to operate for this account? You know, you can look ahead and say, well, just like right now, you're saying, well, hey, we're gonna have to look at replacing this server, or else everything's gonna go down.
Right now, the two big expenses that she has for this right now are gonna be the server and the Cassell monthly.
The Cassell what?
The
Our
monthly
bills
for
that we
the-
pay to Cassell.
Yeah,
And how much is that?
we
roughly?
have what, 42?
That's for the fiscal year, not monthly. Don't give them heart attacks.
Okay.
So that's 57.
That's already, well,
So it's,
Okay.
we're still far from,
That 125. Again, it's not that I'm against doing this, it's what are the budget figures that we're looking at?
and I spent $57,775 of my capital outlay last year. And I budgeted 75, so.
and I believe a lot of that was for the modules for the Cassell as well, right?
Correct, which I would like to
Five
purchase
that we
more
have.
of, because be beneficial, but not the agenda item.
For clarity, Kenneth, it's, our all-in cost on this is gonna be 18,000 and some change, because we're gonna pay Fit to install it too.
Right,
Presumably.
right.
Yeah, that could be less, could be
Yeah.
somewhere, so. All right,
So do we need another motion?
yep.
Do we need the other motion, or do we fall back on the original motion and second to approve the item?
Your original motion to approve, which was.
So I make a motion to go back to this original motion to approve.
Or does it just?
Or do
Or I
we-
just
do
want
we
to say,
just-
can I put a motion
Or we
to
just
call for the vote?
There you go.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
No.
Smith,
No.
Lamar.
What's the current vote?
To approve the expenditure.
No, what's the current
The count,
count?
5 to
Oh.
2.
Yeah.
5-2? Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item C, discussion and possible action to waive the bidding requirement in the best interest of the city and approve an expenditure to Fiber Interactive Technology in the amount of $3,000 for labor related to the installation of new server purchase pending approval on item 4B from Clerk Capital Outlay for 4455417.
So move.
We have a motion from Lamar and a second from Brashear, is that okay?
Yep. Does he get paid more for making the motion?
Yes, he does. He doesn't have to wear a Grinch suit. Okay.
Okay, on waiving the bidding requirement, same question here. I think you want to talk about it a minute ago,
Yes.
so feel free.
We have an office as a service with Fit currently to do all of our IT. We would still have to pay Fit if we were to go out for bid and get another company to come and do the installation, because Fit is the one that has all of our IT set up. Therefore, they're gonna have to come in and type in all the passwords and give them access to everything to do the installation. So,
So it's just gonna cost us more money.
exactly.
Right.
And also a headache of making sure they did it right and don't mess anything up, and then Fit has to come back and fix the stuff that they messed up.
There might be an issue with warranties too,
I would imagine so.
if they're not the installer, they might not warrant it.
I'm not sure about
I don't know
that
the answer,
possibility.
but that's an issue.
We can
I just
find-
wanted to make sure we talked about
Yeah.
why we were waiving it.
Right.
Further discussion? Call for the vote.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
No.
Smith,
No.
Lamar.
Yes.
Thank you. Guys, good discussions tonight, I appreciate them, definitely. All right, city attorney's report. Public hearing, we enter into public hearing. A motion?
I'll make a motion to enter the public hearing. Can we waive the reading?
Please.
Happy birthday.
Please.
So that was your motion to enter and waive, and I'll second it?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
You're on it.
Okay. This is a zoning change for TC4 Graham Street LLC.
Vote to go into public hearing
Yes,
and waive reading.
yes. So, call for the vote.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire.
Yes.
Okay. So like I said, this is for TC4 LLC. This is on the west side of town. We had the planning and zoning meeting the other night. There were 2 residents that live in the area of this that had some concerns. They voiced those concerns. The planning and zoning heard those concerns and let them know that they are just a recommendation body. The contact was given to the TC4, to those citizens. They did reach out to, I believe his name was Aaron Poe, who was the contact on that. Aaron Poe did let me know that he had talked to both of those parties, and I understand that as of right now, the air is clear and the information that they requested will be given. A lot of the concerns were just simply the standards, drainage, offsets and things like that. And so that's all being addressed by TC4 to those individuals, as well as the standard codes and things that they'll have to follow when they make that building.
Make a motion, we exit.
Well,
Do we have discussion?
Yeah.
That's the next.
That's item B.
That's the next.
After we exit.
Okay.
okay.
I had a random question, not that this matters, but does anyone know why the applicant information is different from the property owner information? One being in Virginia, one being in Westville, Oklahoma.
I did.
Yeah,
have
there's
that
a lot of
question.
entities involved in this. And so the applicant was not the one that's over, and the one that's over is not the one that's funding it.
That's what I assumed.
So, all of that information that isn't already public was given to those individuals, and they did reach out, so. The current zoning is agricultural. The applicant is requesting the zoning be changed to CAR, Commercial Automotive Recreation. Do I have a
I second
further
it.
discussion?
No, I second Brown's motion.
Mayor, what did the committee recommend actually to us?
They recommended to send this up to you. They did not reject that change.
So it's just for us to consider.
It's for you to consider and approve switching it to commercial automotive recreation. We've had quite a few of these lately, and we've got one more to go tonight.
Okay, so I've got a question.
Can I take vote for exiting public hearing, or
Well, I thought that's what we were gonna do, but everybody else started asking questions. I thought you all
I would ask.
waived that.
Here for public comment, since you're here.
Is there anybody here for public comment? Knowing the audience,
There you go.
Yeah. Can we-
3B would like to say something.
Publicly, I'd like to.
I think we should exit and then we should go into discussion,
Yes.
correct? Yeah. Good idea.
So since there's nothing public there, do I got a motion from Brown to exit and a second from Bradford?
For Bradshaw.
I'm so sorry.
You made somebody up.
Man, come on.
As new friend.
It's been a long day. I apologize, ma'am.
Didn't know you owned the elementary school out there.
All right, call for the vote.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
All right, item B, discussion and possible action regarding the application, TC4 Graham Street LLC for zoning change, legal as read above.
Motion.
Have a motion from Bashir,
I'll second.
second from Choya Shropshire.
One question is, what are the potential sales tax revenues that would come from? I mean, if I remember right, storage facilities don't draw in except under very, very certain circumstances.
Many storages don't bring in any sales tax.
You know, you're on the wrong one right there, right?
Which one am I on?
That would be
This one right here?
that would be a weed farm that you were on. It's, would you mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so it's actually gonna be this right
Yeah,
here.
right, okay.
This is already there, this is the second property. And the individual that was concerned, I know you can't all see this, we're on the county site here, is this individual right here, Mr. Challen.
Okay.
And then the individual that has that property.
Okay.
I
Well-
noticed that, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I mean, I do, if I remember right, I think the only way that storage facilities bring in sales tax revenue is if they sell, let's say they sell locks or boxes, or somewhere else I've read, and maybe you can speak to this, if they offer open air storage for RVs and vehicles. Is that,
I'm not sure how that does. I think that Colker would be the better person for
okay?
tax.
So my question is, this corporation out of, was it Virginia? They were a no-show at the planning and zoning
Correct.
meeting, and they're a no-show tonight. We've got a ghost company out there that doesn't even want to show up to answer questions or discuss this, and they're expecting us to approve this, and they don't even have the decency or the respect to show up and answer any questions about concerns or anything? Do you know why they didn't show up at either meeting?
No, I don't know why they didn't show up. I mean, I know that Courtney's clerks, myself, the individuals are there, they've been available very openly for communication, and they've answered politely. They're very open about that. I think they're in Virginia.
Mayor, I'm concerned that the planning and zoning is not telling us yes, no, what do you think? We just not gonna touch it, you all decide, is that kind of what?
They're just a recommendation board that recommends that to go on to the council or not.
They have no discussion about approving it, liking it, not liking, dangers, flooding, nothing like that?
They're only allowed to pass it on to council for approval. They can't state whether they approve it, just like budget committee and everything else. They recommend it to council for approval.
Sound like a waste
So
of
if
time.
it's recommended to council, then that's their version of saying, yes, they approve it.
So were the concerns of the two citizens, if I remember reading correctly, one was flooding, what is their plan on dealing with that? And then number two is, you have citizens that have lived there, and all of a sudden a big storage facility is just gonna go right in their view.
So, yeah, a couple things. As we looked at that, one of the things that we discussed was that piece of property that they're sitting on actually sits lower than those homeowners' properties. Also with the building codes, and I'm not a building code expert, please don't ever anybody take me for that. Anytime they do that, one of the concerns was setbacks and how big this facility can be. They're only allowed to use 30% of the property for the construction. So I don't recall the rough numbers. I think it was 300,000 square feet or something for all of that property that they're talking about. And they would only be allowed to use a certain amount of that. The drainage would have to have water detention. All of that is standard for building codes. They're gonna have to do water detention. They're gonna have to divert anywhere they put that impervious material such as a building, concrete, et cetera. That water has to be accounted for and it has to go somewhere. That's
So
why
have they presented a plan for that?
They have not to me, and I've requested that plan as of the planning and zoning meeting.
And they refused to get it to you?
No, they said they'd get it.
Or
to me.
declined it?
No, they did not decline, they didn't refuse. They said that they would get that to me as soon as they can. They have not got that yet.
I would think that that's something that should be of importance to get to the
And that-
governing bodies to have.
That was
They're
exactly
Where you
what I
make a
told
They
decision.
can't do anything until it's changed, the zoning has changed, so.
Not even a
why would they give us-
plan?
Why would they give us documents if we haven't approved their
Are
zoning?
you on their side or?
I'm just
are
telling
you-
you that they can't do anything as far as city stuff until the zoning is approved, so they're not required to give us any documentation or
But
submit
if they had-
But we're not
anything
required
until
to
after.
pass it if they're
No.
not gonna answer our questions.
don't
and
have
make-
any-
We have to make sure that there's not gonna be flooding and all this stuff, and we don't have the information.
Well,
And
and,
that
Then
we're-
we need
I
to
do wanna
require that
clarify one thing.
application.
You
Yeah,
guys
well-
you're not approving any building permits or anything. You're approving the
Zoning change.
zoning holder.
Would this fall under spot zoning?
I don't,
Spot zoning is not actually a thing, it's just a recommendation.
whether or not you wanna do this, you're fine.
Doesn't matter.
You're not approving anything.
I mean, I don't
Them
know
to
that.
have plans and everything will be entirely separate then.
You
I'll
can
tell you,
easily
because I
find
do a bunch of businesses, a lot of
One of
businesses
the
don't
five.
provide any building things until they know they're going to be able to build, because once they provide it, it can become a public record, which can tell what their business plan is. I don't know these people.
What-
I've got a pretty
Well-
good idea who this is after thinking about it.
So-
But that could be a reason.
If you go to
Like I
the-
said, they're not here, so.
I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Throw it out there.
TC4 Grand Street, if you go to the Oklahoma Secretary of State's website and search for it, the registered agent is Christy Mullen.
Who?
Christy Mullen,
She's probably kin that other Mullen, isn't she?
wife.
so, aside from that too, we're gonna, I mean, this space is gonna be used for something that may or may not bring in hardly any sales tax revenue. And we have a ton of these from between Adair and Shoto, there are a ton of these. And then what are and no one's here to comment or answer questions or so. Those are just my thoughts.
What is the harm of changing the zoning currently? What goes wrong if we change them?
Nothing.
No.
And do we generate use tax by them building this?
Yes,
Will it?
that
Okay.
we would.
And if we change the zoning, the next step for them with the city is what?
And they would,
Giving
They have
us a
to
building
apply for
permit
permit.
application with all of the other documents that you are asking for, that is the process.
And then would we have final approval on this particular project?
No, because you have granted that authority to the code enforcement.
It would just have to fall within whatever
whatever that zoning.
commercial, automotive, recreation zone
We've
laws are.
had some
But
attention to detail that wasn't followed through on drainage issues in the past, and that's what's
Yeah.
concerning to me. Not this administration, but we inherited a mess.
That would be
I
a
will
different
say that
conversation for a
particular
different time.
Well, that particular one was not in writing either, if I recall. That was the issue.
Yes.
Okay, so right now, this is just to rezone it to agriculture, from agriculture to commercial automotive recreation. The party that was wanting to build it, they did not show a public hearing. There were 2 citizens there that were in opposition. And at tonight, there is no opposition here present at it.
Correct.
So, and I know I have not had one single phone call about it in opposition or positive, so I see nothing wrong with pressing on with the change of the zoning.
I had a phone call from one of the people that you were talking about, and his concerns was the flooding, and they said he had that taken care of. He talked to somebody and
That was
the other
Mr.
one was
Poe.
headlights, yeah. The headlights that would be on their house and everything for people to go in there, and they said they would
That's a
put
good
a
one.
fence up. But anyway,
But yeah.
that's what I had on a,
So basically, they don't have an issue anymore.
they don't have an issue anymore. He said he was going to come here tonight, but he decided that everything was taken care of.
Call for the vote.
Brown,
Yes.
Bramble,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
No.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers.
No.
All right. Item C, public hearing. I need a motion to.
I'll make a motion that we go into public hearing and waive the reading.
I will second.
Great, hang on. All right, next thing, what are we gonna do here, Troy? All right, we got a motion from Choya. Do we have a second?
Uh,
Did you make it?
sure,
I'm
yeah.
sorry to hear.
second from Bashir in our public hearing. And that was to waive the reading, correct?
Correct.
This is,
Much as like to hear you
Please
speak.
vote on that one.
yeah, call for the vote in our public hearing.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Okay, we've waived that reading. This is for Limestone Construction LLC. They are present. Well, Lonnie and his beautiful wife are with him tonight. Lonnie has, you can come up if you want. We're in public hearing. This is to, hang on, let me get the right page, back side of this. Current zoning is Ag, AG. Applicant is requesting the zoning be changed to residential multifamily, RN. Do you have any questions for public hearing? I guess, you got anything to say to the council?
Not unless they have questions. And to be clear for folks, this is the property that's north
Of the animal shelter.
animal shelter.
Yes, sir.
And right now, it's basically just been a field for however long.
That is correct.
Apartments,
Yes.
number of units,
264 right now is what we're planning.
multi-story,
3-story, yes.
3-story.
Mhm.
How many units per block, I guess you'd call it?
Per building.
Breakdown, the 24. So if you were full completely with the plan, or with whatever you got planned to do, how many people, or how many units total?
There's
out of the whole building?
264.
264?
Yeah. The breakdown, I didn't bring it with me. I think there's 25% one bedroom, 55% two, and then 20% 3-bedroom, if I memory serves.
How many buildings was it? 3 or 4?
5.
5 buildings?
Yeah.
Is there any concern with water situation, again, flooding, drainage, whatever?
No, we've actually got retention pond planned into the
Okay.
development.
Have you talked it over with MUB? They got you covered?
With who?
MUB? Bob?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bob has been
Very
aware of the whole thing, and we've been out there
Yeah, they were aware, it's probably,
6 months ago.
yeah, at least, yeah.
There aren't any traffic concerns with that part of Highway 69?
There are all kinds of traffic concerns when you talk about Highway 69.
I was
I mean,
curious if
any
there was
plans that-
any interest in us expanding the street back to the east there. I know we got to cross Salt Creek, but that would be, what is that, 510, 500?
Yeah.
It runs up to Elliott, right there at that curve. I don't know, I was curious, I drove
Graffiti
by it
Road,
today.
I think is the nickname that's given, Graffiti Road. Is that right, Bruce?
What's that?
Old airport?
Graffiti Road, isn't that what we call
No.
Elliott once it rounds the corner?
Yeah, probably, it could be. Several of them, different names.
You're
Do you have a
referring to,
projected construction date?
Depending on that soil up there is not great, it depends on when we get started. So we would like to get started either the end of this year or first part of next year. If we can't get started by February, we're gonna wait till next June. Because we actually built the food pantry out there, and we spent 3 months because of
Weather.
rain delays,
so you know what it's like out there.
yeah,
What's your,
yeah. Fortunately or unfortunately, yeah.
once you're started, 18 months? Probably?
Probably, that's what we're planning on, hopefully sooner, but we're looking at probably 18 months.
And I'm assuming you'll have some ready and then,
Yeah, it'll be phased out, we'll do it in 2 phases, so we'll do the clubhouse and the first 2 buildings, phase 1, and then the other 3 buildings on phase 2. Then we'll start those, plan it approximately 6 months after we've started the phase 1 project, or portion.
I'm glad to hear somebody's here ready to build and wanting to do it on the front end where we can get some use tax, so I appreciate you being here.
Yes,
Well,
thank you for
and-
being there.
Well, and the other part of that, anytime somebody buys something off Amazon, that's right there.
So we'll throw this out there, not 100% relevant to this particular project, but there is another plot of that land that is getting ready to come through planning and zoning
Yes.
In the next go-round, that will be commercial.
Yes, and we are planning on doing storage units there, but it's to benefit the apartments and kind of.
It's for that complex.
Yes.
Your clients, your
Yes.
customers.
Terry, I'd be curious if you could meet with Buddy maybe about trying to get a road to go over there to Elliott, especially for some of the people that might live in there to go to the school or anything like that, and not have to get on 69 to go all the way around and take their kids to Roosevelt.
That's a great idea.
We'll put that on the burner after we get one built out at the football field.
That's fair. That's fair.
I brought this up in the planning and zoning meeting, because I think it is fair for throwing it out there, is that the comprehensive plan does support, and that was done by the vote of the people, growth and development on the northern corridor of Highway 69, which is exactly what this falls into. So this fits directly into the vision that comprehensive plan produces.
While you're out there, move into QT.
I'd love to, yeah.
Right on top of that, right?
No,
Yeah.
we want a Popeyes fried chicken.
All right, so, anything further for Lonnie? Mr. Green?
No.
Okay.
Make a motion to exit.
Second.
Motion from there, thank you, Mr. Green. Second from Bashir. Call for vote.
Conjure,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
All right, item D, discussion and possible action regarding the application, Limestone Construction LLC for zoning change, legal as read above.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from John P. and a second from Bashir. Discussion.
I'm good.
You good?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good, then we'll call for the vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Conjure,
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for waiting patiently to the very end of an agenda. Typically, it's Adam that has to wait to the very end, but we appreciate that. Item 6, committee reports, budget personnel,
September 10th.
ordinance, insurance.
Nothing close.
I'd like to get a special going if we could.
Yeah, but we will need one.
Okay. Street and maintenance.
Currently next Tuesday, but that's subject to change, whether we need one or not, if we don't need one.
27th, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
There was, Courtney, we had one unforeseen one we can talk behind.
Yeah, we had a meeting today with Bluegrass and Chili Festival, and we've come to the determination today that it's probably gonna be in the best interest that we close City Hall on the Friday of the festival, because the entire downtown corridor is gonna be closed down for the festival to get set up, and nobody's really gonna be able to get to our buildings, so.
And all of our parking lots are dedicated as handicap parking spaces.
The plan with the Bluegrass and Chili Festival is to have parking for the employees. So next council meeting, I'll have on the agenda for you guys to make your decision on whether we want to close City Hall to the public and allow us to take payments over the phone and stuff like that, or close down all the way, but not to have the public coming to the building itself during that time.
Tell us the real thing.
Teleworking.
Tell us what's really going on. You're a banjo picker.
She's gonna be clogging.
You're clogging, okay, you're clogging, okay.
If you're coming to see Courtney and the Magnificence, whatever it is, Clog, they're gonna be at the stage down on Adair.
Okay, that'll work.
That's the local stage with other local talent. I'll just stop right there, because we have a lot of local talent that I'm excited to see. All right, outside of that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion from 5 of you, from Brown, and a second from Shropshire. Call for vote.
Lamar,
Yes.
Shropshire,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Rushiers,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Trammell,
Yes.
Gantier,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Okay, we're adjourned. We'll call to order the Pryor Public Works
I got a
Authority.
pen.
Item 2, approve the minutes of the August 6th,
We don't have a budget
2024
yet.
meeting.
Motion.
I
Second.
don't have a
Motion
budget
from
yet.
Brown, a second from
Approved
Gantier.
it.
Call for the vote.
Shropshire?
Yes.
Bradshaw?
Abstain.
Yes.
You need to abstain apparently.
Oh, abstain, I'm sorry. I was gone. It's been a long night.
You've been through life, man.
Yeah.
Shropshires abstain.
Abstain.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Rushiers?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Trammell?
Yes.
Gantier?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yes.
Okay, we have no unforeseeable, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
Second.
Motion
I voted
from,
no on
Bashir,
those, so I'm
second
not
from
gonna sign.
Gantier. Call for the vote.
Okay, I'll sign it.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Rushiers?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Trammell?
Yes.
Gantier?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Lamar?
Yes.
Shropshire?
Yes.
Adjourn.
Oh, they go back in here. Vote no on that.
Yeah, I did. Past few meetings.
Oh,
Better.
I thought you were talking about tonight. Nah, I better not.
Do what?
Close the meeting. Close the meeting. Adjournment. Vote no.
Let's just do it sometime.
I've done it before.
What are you gonna do?
Wow. No, I mean, we just got home yesterday afternoon. So.
Oh, you just got back?
Yeah,
Oh, my goodness.
yeah, we just got back. So how many hours long were they?
They weren't necessarily, they were long.
Yeah.
The special meals just got a little
Rowdy?
rowdy.
Yeah, you can get rowdy.
Boy, Bruce is gone.
I don't know.
He's out of here.
I have some ideas about some downtown stuff.
Hey.
No, I mean,
Is there a link, Adam, to, I'm sure there is, I just need to get on Facebook.
for what?
To volunteer for like bluegrass, like a segment to help do something.